Wise Ragnarok took out the garbage without being asked. Wise Ragnarok secured first place.
Hi everyone. Mr. Shins here. Tonight, a very special stream. Special. Yoshi, Mom Shins is hitting me. I haven't been, Yoshi. Wise, Thank you for being first and for taking out the garbage. Man, you know, your initiative and responsibility, they really show how much, how thoughtful and mature you're becoming.
Foxling Bubble just
Foxling!
100 bits.
Thank you for the very generous gift of bits. That is very kind. I see what you're doing. That is very generous of you. Nani, it is good to see you. Hello. I'm sorry that you missed first. K-Metrics, thank you for joining us again. And thank you for the lurk. Zio, Witter Power. Yes, we're gonna talk to Wittershins tonight. Mr. Shins, you dare touch my thermi? I locked it away. It is locked away. Rise up, heat, no money cult. Hello, Spike Wombat. I appreciate everybody being here. This is a very special stream. Not just because it's Spooktober and it's developers. Oh my god. Thank you guys so much for the raid. Remnantation, thank you for the lurk. You guys, Remnantation is the one who did the sprite, the character sprites in this game. So this is a very special stream. We're streaming If One Goes Astray, a Spooktober visual novel entry. It's currently in the judgment process. And this was written by our very own Wittershins. And a bunch of the developers and the voiceover cast are here tonight. And they're waiting in the wings. And after the stream, we're going to talk to them for a little bit. Mr. Shins is an excellent voice actor with questionable gaming skills. I hope you enjoy the show. Yoshi, thank you for the plug. So tonight I should mention that most redeems are off tonight, so that we can focus on the game and the developers' work. But they will be back on next time we do a regular RPG or whatever. He's a credited actor with a commercial for Oil Can Henry's. Nobody knows what Oil Can Henry's is in LA except for something. Thank you everybody for being here. Who made this game? This was Wittershins, Butterfly Rocket Studios, and there's a big team. So we just saw Remnantation. Remnantation did the sprites, and a number of the developers will be here. toffl is one of them. You'll meet a number of them here, and I have messages for the ones that couldn't be here to be read during our Q&A after the game. Is it on Steam? No, right now it's on itch. It's still in the jam. It's still in jam judgment. So you can find it on itch. I tried to. I usually have the link to the game at the top of the chat, and I tried to bring it up, but itch is down at the moment. I can't seem to get it to load here. So as soon as I'll try again here in a little bit, and as soon as itch is back up and I can access it, I'll post the link to the game. All right. So here we go. Let's get into this. If One Goes Astray, a visual novel by Butterfly Rocket Studios for the Spooktober Visual Novel Jam 2025. New game. A prologue. That October remains a deep scar in my memory. It's gouged and carved there just as a young swain might etch the name of their honey in the trunk of an old oak tree. Might be a little growed over now, but I can still trace the lines with my fingertips in the quiet hours and remember the heart it used to form, even if the rest is now patchy with moss and time. Did you miss me? Of course I missed you, Emmy. Where have you been? We all of us hope that love, should we chance to find it, will prove steadfast. We clamor after it like hungry bees swarming the first spring flowers or like flies on dog shit. We swear it'll prove profound as the hills and peaks and run deeper than any holler or valley ever could. 201, we positively itch to leave a mark that lasts the forever our earthly vessels can't possibly attain. We don't always pay much mind just whose flesh and skin we use in making that record. Chapter 1. The leaves turned a week or two early that year. The Smokies looked like nothing so much as a giant sleeping under a quilted counterpane, sometimes yellow and sometimes red, and thereabouts the kind of orange you'll see in the heart of a good bonfire. But the real beginning was when we had that terrible day at the market, well down the mountain, and were a-walking up back home with heavy baskets and empty pockets.
Here now. Only thing that can make a bad day worse is for you, my darling Donnie gal, to bring all them storm clouds home with us.
There's the VA, Emmy.
I don't see that my sour face adds much to the balance of a failed market day.
I happen to like that sour face.
And I miss like a failed market day. Papers say we're due for another downturn, moreover. What happens if tomorrow is just as bad, or worse?
She linked her arm in mine, snugging up close and resting her pretty head against my shoulder.
Ugh, the papers. Personally, I don't place faith in anything that dissolves in water. Come on now, Lizzie. We already spent the whole day sulking over a lack of buyers. No need to devote our evening to the same exercise. Pay it no mind. Tomorrow will be better.
By what promise?
Mine? But give me a smile now, just to coax our guardian angels for sure. I hear they take nice smiles as currency for their good deeds, and yours is the nicest smile I know.
Laura. All gold, my Laura. Golden hair, golden heart. Even her pretty hands, those same hands that had dug and delved in soil for the yellow root we'd failed to sell, glowed as if she wore gloves spun of gold and leftover summer sunshine. I mused often and often again that nothing could possibly dim her light. No matter how dire things ever got, she never seemed to know what it was to be tarnished or scuffed, or to suffer any fault for it. The dirt brushed right off her in a way I could choose either to treasure or be disgusted by, and me? I chose to treasure her.
I know that look.
What look is that? Pray tell.
The one you're giving me. The one where you pin all your wishes and witchcraft upon my nose, while at the same time damning my eyes, pulling my hair and kissing me full on the mouth.
Botan, hello, nice to see you. How could I resist gold when it gleams so nice and so warm in the light before me? Hey, Shins, if you speak to us in the kind of tone Witter will, Witter will get jealous. Yeah, she may. She doesn't really get jealous. So, we'll see.
I won't pull your hair. At least, not unless you ask me to.
Oh my.
Hush now. Wrap your arm around me. It's getting a trifle airish.
That moment betwixt us might have served as the last example of what we could be, before turning into what we became. Still, even then, Laura, my Laura, was golden as they come. And I'll never think of her without also calling to mind those trees that glowed red and yellow and amber behind her, framing her as if she was a magic painting that couldn't determine which pose best suited the subject. There's beauty in changeability, sure enough, but the gold still costs dear.
Stayed later than usual, didn't we?
Doesn't matter either way, my Riz will work on Mr. Shin soon. Emmy, how do you know it hasn't already? It may have already worked. Already I'd been keenly watching the light as it faded over the top of the woods, but her speaking that thought aloud gave me a shiver. Hoyos, hello, nice to see you. Chase! Shin's playing a Shin's game? Is this a first? It is a first, Chase. You guys, welcome Novum Chase, who is also a voice actor in this game. It's very nice to see you, sir. Hoyos, it's nice to see you.
Later than I like. At this rate, we'll be getting home in full dark.
She hugged my arm closer at that and whispered low in my ear, her breath ever so slightly stirring at my hair and tickling my skin.
Best take care. Nobody knows what all these woods have hiding in them.
At this, I slipped free from her altogether and started walking a little faster up the path.
You know I don't like those kinds of tales, so don't you think about starting one.
Laura simply skipped up right behind me, unrepentant as the devil and still looking a perfect angel, as was her custom.
I know it well enough, but I simply can't help myself sometimes. All it takes is for me to say boo, and you'll straight away start putting on sad and tragic airs. I never knew anyone who quaked at the least hint of a fairy tale as you do. And you won't even jump into my arms for comfort.
Aww. Despite upbraiding me with teasing words, she wrapped her gold-stained fingers around my arm again, her touch reassuring and warm. I forced a poor attempt at a smile, shaking my head.
I don't mean to be a bad sport. It's just, they ain't simple tales. Not all of them. Not to me.
She only blew raspberries by way of reply.
What's worse, though, I hope you realize, I'm liable to turn downright green with frustration and jealousy. Listen all the time to hogwash about your true blue lover stolen away by some booger or other. Takes the fun clean out of...
But something in my look must have stopped her cold, and the twinkle in her gaze turned solemn in an instant. She pulled me round to face her, voice dipping low and coaxing.
Stars and garters, I'm sorry, Lizzie. Truly I am.
I eyed her warily, knowing she would never offer any apology that didn't come tied to its own sequel. I knew everything about her, you see. Better even than I knew the woods lining our pathway home. Her topography was a careful study of mine, her curves and her wrong angles, and the side-goggling byways of her mind. As such, I knew each time she gave an apology, it was certain that, like any animal alive, it featured a butt at its rear.
But just because she's gone, it don't gotta mean some booger or other took her. Gone's just plain gone. Whether we leave by way of our own 2 feet or get carried off by 6 white horses in procession.
This art is so pretty, says Cinder Critter. Hello, Cinder Critter. It's nice to see you here. Despite the belittling of my past loss, to my own face, moreover, I took a measure of bittersweet comfort in this confirmation of my observed views. Whatever mixed feelings showed in my expression, though, they only served to whet the sharpness and urgency of her persuasion.
Think this way. She left, so now I get to be the one at your side. You don't regret that, do you?
I never could hold out against her wheedling. Instead, I contented myself with making a decent show of resistance and counterattack.
Answer it for yourself.
And I gave her a smacking kiss, leaving her reeling in my wake, which made me feel mighty pleased, if I may admit it. Well, we don't get to see the kiss? Whatever. Yet pride goeth afore a bad fall, they say. And so I put the same mouth that stopped up the argument to worser use, uncorking further trouble instead.
But even if I love you, dear, I don't much care for your habit of tolling the dead when you wish me to prove the matter to your satisfaction, especially when the loss still smarts. It's one thing to cut a joke about ghouls and the like, but another entirely.
Moving straight from kissing to scolding rarely did any soul good. which fact I remembered after the horse had well and truly bolted. For here Laura came to a sudden halt, eyes glinting in the remaining scraps of autumn sunlight.
If it turned out she ain't dead, then who'd you choose betwixt us? Her or me?
Who would we choose? Her? You? Who's her? I mean, we don't really know who her is at this point. Hush up. I feel like if Wittershins were to ask me this question, I would be like, shut up. Anybody have a... Laura, you can't make us choose, right? Okritas, hello, Okritas. Thank you for being here. I'm going to tell her to hush up. Hush up. I swear upon my very soul, in that moment I could not help but throw my head back in exasperation, without regard of how she'd take the gesture. Yoshi, her! Oh, it's... Well, you want me to... I can roll it back. I think I can roll it back. Let's roll it back. Okay, we'll go with Yoshi's. Always choose the other woman. No decisions made. We're going with it, Yoshi. We're gonna go with it. We're gonna go with it. Make them compete and end up with both. Yoshi, I don't know if that's how it works. We'll say her because you had an opinion. So here we go. Maybe it was the ill temper I felt in lugging home up the mountain, everything we dragged down at that selfsame morning. But whatever it was, my disposition had turned well and truly perverse, and neither hell nor high water could stop it from spilling over. Mr. Shins is the Prince of Persia. I just rewound time.
Her. The dead are quiet, at least, and don't make unreasonable demands.
Oh my God. Jesus, harsh. We had, like, is this becoming a theme? We have couples arguing on this channel. This brought Laura up short, eyes widening and a wild rose color flooding her cheeks, just as if she'd been slapped. Shots fired, says Yoshi. And the sight of her leached all that poor humor away from me, leaving nothing but bones and sorries.
I didn't mean that. Don't you know I didn't mean it?
We didn't mean it. It's fine. We didn't mean it. I went to gather her into my arms, but she sidestepped my grasp.
I don't mean to make fun of you, nor hurt your feelings, I don't. But when you say you miss her still, it makes me feel all knotted up inside. And I can't help but...
Mr. Shins, the Spooktober relationship counselor now. That's right. That's what this channel is now. Mr. Shins, we're going to bed now. Emmy, thank you for being here. It's nice to see you. I hope you sleep well. Her eyes were glassy now, with tears enough to reflect all the wrongdoings I'd committed in my whole life, and I hung my head just so I wouldn't have to watch them fall.
She ain't here any longer, bless her. But you are. That's enough for me.
Whatever Laura might say, I knew for myself that Jeanie, lost Jeanie, sweet as a berry and true blue, the girl I once knew and loved with my whole heart when my heart was still, or when my heart still was whole, was gone. And I knew just as well that I grieved her still, in a way that time had yet to blunt the cutting edge of. Still, shuttling that ache aside to pretend it didn't exist felt like it'd be a wrong paid backwards and forwards both. A discourteous action to her who'd come and vanished, and to Laura too, who now stood at my side, tears in her eyes.
How do you know the girl's dead? She could walk up here tomorrow. What would you do then?
Laura was not the type to let bygones be bygones, nor to pay reverence to anything she could not see, taste, touch, or otherwise engage with her own five senses. She was as dogged in her pursuit of answers as the best hound anybody could find. Her fire wasn't one I could ever put out alone, try though I might, unless I had her say so to do it. All I could succeed at was banging on her gates and begging for consideration and crumbs.
She's gone. That's enough to know. People don't just evaporate or dissolve in water. If my old friend were well, she'd still be around. Since she ain't around, it only stands to reason that...
Fine.
Her tone put a cold halt to further debate. I knew full well that Laura hadn't let it go, not truly. But in my own agitation, I willed for that to be the case, and walked alongside her in silence and acceptance of an unspoken truce. And the light, it just kept on fading, until all around were gloaming shadows and suspicious-looking trees. Is Wintershins there with you? She is not here at the moment, but she will be here soon. We are about a minute and a half out from our first commercial break, because nothing is happening right at the moment in the game. I'm going to go ahead and run our first commercial break now. I'm sorry to anybody that's behind the commercial wall, but I will see you in just 180 seconds. Welcome back, everyone. Denver Beer Hunter, thank you for the lurk. Yoshi says treason. Toma, hello, nice to see you. Thank you for being here, Toma. And the light, it just kept on fading, until all around were gloaming shadows and suspicious-looking trees.
Some people, they disappear on purpose, you know.
Is that right? Do some people disappear on purpose? I guess we'll see.
Laura.
She held up her arms in a false show of surrender.
It's true. I swear it. Did I ever tell you about the dear departed?
Laura never was one to release a good yarn once she'd sunk her pearly whites into it. So, reluctantly, I shook my head, knowing that by doing so I was hooked for a point-proven story, sure as any parable belabored in Sunday school. Dr. Newfie, hello. Happy time zone. But listening to one of her stories would keep the peace, I reckoned. And peace was the thing I hankered after the most.
The dear departed was my mama's father. Married my great-grandmother in the teeth of her father's stony opposition, he did. Real romantic-like. But after they were married, he couldn't help but recognize the truth of her pa's objections, as he had no means of supporting a wife or any possible children she might have.
Seems a tardy realization, if he married her first and only thought to get his house in order after.
Laura only twinkled up at me by way of reply, since she knew my answer meant I was good and listening to her tale.
So, he promised her he would be off to seek his fortune, and write whenever he chanced to have the time.
Wittershen's free lore, this is actually a true story based on my great-great-grandfather, which I can confirm. She has told me this story before.
Reach me that oil lamp, would you?
For a moment, Laura rustled in the depths of her market basket without a word, before finally emerging with the lamp. She watched as I made myself busy striking a match to light it. We heard it on stream too, says Zio. That's right. Okay, so you guys know. I won't lie. The encroaching darkness had me all nerves. Same's a long-tailed cat in a room full of rocking chairs.
And did he write then?
She paid no never mind to my distraction, instead nodding and walking on, sure in her steps as if the sun still shone upon us. Hello to Tree, Newfie. Thank you for telling. Thank you for delivering a message from Tree. Taking notes for trivia night. Yeah, Yes, hello and hugs for Tree indeed.
He did. But wouldn't you know, her pa that didn't approve took all them letters and hid 'em as soon as they arrived in the post.
I startled as an owl flew low across our path, taking a good minute to catch my breath before I could continue. Laura, though, she glided ahead unaffected and graceful as a swan.
Sounds like your great-great-granddaddy was a right bastard then.
Ouch. She chuckled at this, deep and low. Her laughter was rich as caramel, and I could eat it up by the spoonful.
He was, wasn't he? But it worked in his favor all the same.
No.
Yes.
And she shook her head in disapproval, long golden tresses fallen where they may.
He hid all them letters, so my great-grandma never knowed her sweetheart kept up his end of the bargain. And he went blindly on about his business, building bridges and Woodall, before finally coming home to a wife and child that didn't know him from Adam. Nor want to know him, moreover.
At this poor conclusion, my full attention shifted away from the poor lamplight and back to her.
Not a happy story, that.
She shook her head again, curls rippling across her shoulders in a right suggestive and distracted fashion.
Nope. But then, he did go on to start a whole new family elsewhere, leaving only a proper behest to my mama when he passed. So who's to properly say whether he was better off with that new family would approve to him, or if he ought to have stuck it out with those that were happier believing him dead?
It's a sad story, right, Toma? It's crazy to me that actually happened. Like, that's an actual thing that happened, and Widdershins put it in the story. But, like, man, rough. I rolled my eyes toward her.
And what's your answer then?
But she only gave her honeyed curls another shake. Face serious as the grave.
However you view it, don't it suggest to you that maybe, just maybe, some folks disappear on their own accord, or might vanish for reasons neither so nefarious nor tragic as you're inclined to ascribe your long-lost love?
I suppressed my frustration at this revisitation of a dead argument, though it strained my abilities to their outer limits.
I never called her my long-lost love. Don't you put words in my mouth.
Laura's expression turned coy, burying the hurt and vulnerability in an instant.
What would you have me put in your mouth, I wonder?
Oh my.
That dinner we're missing. Wouldn't mind some of that on my tongue, I suppose.
Laura stuck out her tongue in a deliberately provocative manner, and I turned my head as the blood rushed up into my cheeks.
Food. Food! If that's all you think a mouth's good for, then.
I stopped short, and so did she, the both of us gaping at the grove before us. Unprompted by anything that could be shaped into words, our hands dumbly fumbled and sought one another out in the shadows, quiet as church mice, reverent as a hushed prayer in the face of death himself.
Well, that's Swanee.
Her words tickled my skin with downright heretical sensuality, as she clutched me close as wax on a candle or my own breath.
I'd say it's worth a late dinner if it means we're treated to this kind of show in return. Didn't know there were blue fireflies, did you? Much less October ones.
But far from experiencing the moment with her, same simple and sincere wonder, that particular shade of blue instead cast me back a matter of years, or maybe the whole lifetimes I once anticipated that never properly came to pass. Because that blue, it was the blue of a shadow, something incorporeal when you went to grab it, but despite that, a blue I knew the taste and touch of intimately. The blue of dayflowers, and the blue of berries, the blue of bruises, and of moonlight promises.
Jeanie.
What was that?
I gave myself a good, solid shake, forcing my mouth to form the smile my heart didn't quite feel, and let my eyes glaze over on purpose.
Pay no mind to me. Just seeing boogers and haints where there are none. We best get home.
I started to walk on, but Laura remained rooted to the spot, immobile as a chestnut tree, gazing about in wonder. And since her hand remained linked with my own, I was jerked back alongside her before I could take more than 2 steps.
Stay a while. If you hear nothing and nothing here scares you, lightning bugs ain't gonna do any harm. Let's just enjoy a pretty sight while it's on offer.
Her voice turned dreamy and unfocused, a halfway smile playing at the corners of her lush mouth. I could not decide for myself whether I wished to kiss her in the middle of that grove of blue constellation lights, or if I wanted to tuck her under one arm and run for the hills of home and safety. Steeling myself, I clutched at the ironwork of our small lantern as if I were clinging directly to the yellow flame within that contrasted against the unnatural blue of the lovelorn insects surrounding us.
Fine, but only for a short while. Dinner is a-calling, and our warm bed thereafter. I've no mind to delay either, after the day we've had.
Cinder Critter says, "Run for the hills!" She gave my fingers a squeeze to reply.
Fair's fair.
So, against my better judgment, we stood side by side in silence, while the lightning bugs set off signals only fellow lovers could read. Laura's hand in mine was warm, while I knew my own was cold in hers. And if something popped up somewhere in the shadow of the woods, I didn't see nor hear any of it. Laura was what I chose to see, just her, and the little lonesome lights all about us. Till I couldn't play act any longer because...
Did you hear that?
I went to jerk free from her again, but she only held on more tightly.
I did not.
I saw nothing, and I heard not a thing. But despite all that I didn't hear nor see, Laura kept me staked to the spot, her grip firm and curiosity disastrous.
Help. Nope. Nothing worth listening to. Birds, probably. Help. Help.
Birds?
I bobbed my head vigorously, tugging at her hand and dragging her behind me.
Just birds. Maybe a beaver. We're still nearish the creek.
Laura pulled up short again, frowning mightily as she dug her heels into the soft earth.
You acting like I'm telling a story, but you heard it too, don't you?
My denial was vehement enough to serve as clear, unintended confirmation instead.
I didn't hear that. And neither did you.
The desperation of my plea soared past her ears without pause for disembarkment, leaving her not running for home and safety, but instead puzzling through my words and actions as if they were a jigsaw, and she had all the time in the world to solve it.
I don't mean to assume it's people, but...
She sidled closer, unable to repress a delicious shiver as she did so, and I gripped her, ready for flight.
Let's just focus on getting home. We ain't hearing anything but birds. Maybe a bobcat, I suppose.
Lizzie!
So we got to get home, don't we? Much nicer at home by the fireside, and all the nasty evening birds and bugs locked outside with the curtains drawn.
Law, I can't with...
Lizzie?
Even I flinched at this call, though I knew I oughtn't acknowledge it at all. And as for Laura, she pulled herself erect, finally vibrating with fear and horror that befit our situation. Cafe con Gaming, hello. Thank you for the lurk.
Let's...
But then I found myself robbed of breath and words both, because all at once, there she stood. She was the blue of drowning, the blue of memory, the blue of hurts that inhabit just under the skin. Jeanie. And she had the gall to wear that expression as she appeared before me, one that just plumb tore at my insides, all wide eyes and grief. I shut my own eyes tight, and even then it still showed through, even if it didn't. I hope you are well, Cafe, thank you. Because the blues and the past hurts and the love that came before, none of that mattered a whit. I couldn't see any of it, even with eyes open, nor hear a word, no matter what I heard. Because Jeanie, she was dead. Wasn't she? Chapter 2. Jeanie. Impossibilities are impossibilities, I reckon. All the same, sometimes impossibilities prove themselves just a shade less impossible. Leastways, that is what I told myself after coming face to face with a love long since presumed dead and gone.
Jeanie.
That was my first mistake, and I noted the moment her name took flight from my mouth, after having it stored under my tongue for years upon years. I shouldered Laura aside so as she was partway hidden by a stout poplar, though I could not properly say whether this was solely with a mind toward her protection. It might easily have been to hide her, whilst placing myself in closer reach of Jeanie, where she stood looking like a heavy sigh might make her disappear again forever. But me, fool I am, I didn't know then whether that was something to be wished for or not.
Jeanie?
Oof this writing, Wittershins, chef kiss, says Cinder Critter. I agree. I'm a little biased, probably, but I agree. I flinched as she spoke a name that never belonged on her lips. Jeanie, though. Jeanie was above earthly concerns now, and it only stood to reason that she'd disregard mortal voices, mine and Laura's both. She took a single step forward, and just that movement thrust me back by instinct.
Laura, we gotta get home. We gotta get home right now.
But Laura kept peeking out, one part hidden by the poplar and one part brazen as the daylight. She gave her head a shake, holding on to me all the tighter.
Laura, this ain't a lark. Come home with me now, will you?
Laura, though, she remained transfixed, instead gripping at my hand as if she'd keep me tethered to her side, come what may.
Who is it that...
Lizzie. Lizzie?
My better angels prompted me to stay the course, to remain by Laura no matter, even if it meant my own end. But when I made a start toward home again, she pulled me back. Well? I ain't proud, But I let my instinct carry the day. I broke free from her grip and I ran, abandoning her and Jeanie's haint and the market baskets to boot. I was able to spare but one backwards glance and got a split-second's eyeful of Laura gaping after me in dismay before I screwed my vision shut, thrashing blindly on through the darkness and fireflies. I tripped many a time over rocks and roots, shrubs and branches reaching out to lash at my cheeks, and my palms and knees were quickly plumb tore up by blackberry brambles. All the same, I wouldn't let myself cry out, but took each strike and bruise and welt as penance for my own cowardice. Laura, though. Laura stayed on, still peeking out from the poplar with suspicion and intrigue.
You're Jeanie. Is that right?
Jeanie nodded solemnly, eyes still following my shameful retreat. Laura, though, she didn't back down, staring after Jeanie in fascination.
You're blue.
She is blue, it's true. At this, Jeanie's gaze finally shifted, acknowledging Laura properly for the first time. And after sizing her up, she gave a grin swift as a blink before it vanished as though it never were.
I am blue devil, to be sure.
Laura took this as encouragement, meager though it might be, as a reply. She crept forward an inch or two.
I meant your skin. You are blue as the chokeberry jam in that basket. Is it because you're a haint?
Jeanie rolled her eyes at this, a gesture I was well familiar with, though I weren't there to see it.
It might not be a common complexion, but it's one that has seen fruit more than a dozen times in my family tree. Doctors say it has to do with our blood.
Laura, her mind a natural wellspring of curiosity, abandoned caution at this, approaching an inch closer still to Jeanie, while continuing to eye her askance.
If the blue is natural, I suppose you're alive, then.
But in Jeanie, she'd met her match for coyness and for stories both.
I might be. Can't decide that just on sight, though. Not even Lizzie could.
Lizzie thinks you're dead.
Living or dead, she thinks of me still, does she?
Laura took offense to this, as well she might, and retreated back the half step she'd come.
I shouldn't like for any lover of mine to believe I'm dead. But you've kept up the act for years now. Do you know what it was Lizzie went through on your account? Mind, I always told her you'd just chosen to disappear into the woods on your own will. Guess maybe she'll finally give me an ear on that.
Jeanie cocked her head to one side, considering.
Which I reckon suggests Lizzie don't listen to you at present. Or am I mistaken?
Laura jerked at this, like a puppet whose strings were severed all of a minute. But Jeanie didn't seem inclined to follow up on that poisoned dart, not even with the advantage of an off-guard opponent. So after a good long moment's pause and quiet, Laura rallied again, giving Jeanie a mean glare for her trouble.
Even living, you're dead to Lizzie, are you not? I'd rather be a part of her present than her past.
This wasn't the home strike Laura thought for, though. Jeanie acknowledged the hit with grace, bowing her head in a sort of acknowledgement, but her confidence remained without so much as a dent.
You ain't wrong. I can see why she's by your side now.
Sensitive to flattery, Laura thought a little at this, while still affecting a slight air of superiority.
I admit that dead or not, you're still a returning haint to hers. What prompts you to make show of yourself now?
Jeanie gave an elaborate shrug, a self-deprecating, half-cocked smile resting on her lips.
Does Lizzie believe in you with the full and honest faith?
So many shots fired. Oof, right, Cinder Critter? Oh. Laura stilled, and though she remained stubbornly dumb, her knuckles went wide as bone as she clasped her hands together, and she cast a slantwise look after my retreat, serving to show her answer plain as warts on a toad. Jeanie knew by now she'd baited her trap good and well and had no need to rush in reeling in her prey. But she heaved a hearty sigh for good measure, disconsolate and lonesome, and concealing as the fog that trundles over and amongst our mountains as it pleases.
She didn't believe in me either.
Laura didn't even feel the hook in her mouth, but was pulled in blithely unawares.
How is it that you figure our relationship must be a reflection of Yun's? Maybe it's far different, on account of you and I being so different.
Jeanie just gave this a single, amiable nod.
On account of me being blue, and you being you.
Laura was proper flummoxed by this unexpectedly accepting attitude, and Jeanie noted, flashing her a smile and a twinkle by way of a lifeline.
You needn't be afeard of me, Laura. I lost my chance when I left and didn't come back from the woods. And that's not a subject nor negotiation for debate, much as it pains my heart to admit it.
That hook sunk in Laura now tugged at her tender heartstrings too, drawing her further and further in. At the least, it had charmed her enough that she took no note of Jeanie knowing her name, though by reason she ought not have known Laura at all.
I ain't afeard of someone who'd disappear of their own free will, especially not with my Lizzie. She's no patience for that sort of thing, and no mind to bear with foolish tricks nor chicanery, neither.
Jeanie's gaze turned remote, dreamily following the path of my recent ignominious flight.
I do see that. That, at least, hasn't changed in her.
Laura bristled at this suggestion of intimacy, but finding no reflected envy in Jeanie's cold observation, the air leached out of it swiftly enough.
What do you want, then? Given that you see there's no hope for you to win back her love.
Jeanie's mouth twisted like a snare.
Less than Lizzie would believe, though I fear still more than you'll allow.
You're making guesses at my opinion without ever having asked I give it you.
The quarrelsome tone Laura took up was far and away too little cover to conceal the curiosity under it. Her inquisitiveness stuck out at the corners and edges, leaving no way for Jeanie to miss observing it.
I only wanted to avoid courting any further trouble with you. But since you wish to know the why and wherefore you'd condemn me, well, I'll oblige.
Jeanie took a stride or two forward, gesturing as like she meant to whisper the answer close, lest the trees and nighthawks hear it by mistake. Laura kept up her poor show of disinterest, rolling her eyes, but with ears perked up like a rabbit on alert. And after the barest of breaths, she took a few hesitant steps out from the shelter of the poplar tree, until finally they stood near enough to touch.
Well, say what it is you have to say so we can be done with it.
Jeanie tipped her head close, her blue mouth a mere whisper away from the pale rose column of Laura's throat. She inhaled quick and sharp, before then murmuring a single word almost too low to hear. Afterward, pulling back upright, her face turned aside as though she were a dog expecting a kick, while all the same wishful of praise. Laura, on the other hand, scowled up at her in perplexity for a long time before straightening her back and setting hands to hips.
Help! That's all you have to say. They law.
But despite this expostulation, accompanied as it was with a disapproving shake of Laura's golden head, that hook had only sunk deeper within her, snagging now at her ready sympathy and righteous impulses. For all of Laura's flaws, and she had many enough, most of them came hand in hand with virtues as well, by way of balance. Her curiosity was the fruit of an active intellect, her pride the natural companion of honorable intent. But the hardest for me to tolerate was her credulity and lack of caution, when any old thing happened to tap the ready fount of her sympathy and soft heart. That flaw had raised an abandoned fox kit betwixt us, and had once it near got her killed by a she-bear when Laura thought by mistake that a cub was abandoned to die. She'd wept over the wildflowers I had to uproot from the garden when it came time to plant, and wouldn't kill even spiders that ventured inside our home, rather capturing them barehanded to release outside again. More than anything, it was the general nature of her overflowing affection I found myself jealous of, even if I, orphaned child of a father that died working the iron mines, fair often reviled, and sometimes the more reviled still for loving my own sex. I knew, and I knew well, that I'd also benefited from her wide embrace in my own way. She chose to see me beyond all the petty misrepresentations society cast at me like mud, and saw me right through to my shining core. Still, I wanted her to love me for that selfsame shining core, not just for the mud wrongly cast upon it, nor for the holy justice her mind hankered after. And the more I saw her stirred by any other given plight, the less I felt her heart belonged to me, myself alone, least in the same way mine was entirely hers. And now Jeanie had taken hold of that same heart with both hands.
That's the sum of it.
What matter of help is it you're asking?
And at this, Jeanie grinned, her smile all teeth and unbridled pleasure.
Why would you assume I'm asking for something instead of offering the same?
Laura could only blink twice trying to decipher this unexpected text.
What?
I want to help her. Our Lizzie. And you as well, since you're the one she loves now. I came to offer her my help. Would that she'd take it?
Her eyes narrowed sly as a fox before she cast down her lashes.
Don't tell me you thought I turned up to beg. My law.
Laura flushed deep as a summer rose.
Let's skulk around in the night then, if you're here to do good.
Would you then have received me in joy if I turned up on your doorstep by daylight?
Jaw set, Laura shook her head a firm negative.
Can't think of the day nor hour I'd receive a chokeberry blue stranger that broke my sweetheart's heart in joy. Suppose your timing ain't the issue, but your presence altogether.
Jeanie still didn't flinch, instead peering into one of the abandoned market baskets and examining its contents.
Are you and Lizzie able to sustain a market day like this?
Laura flushed again with embarrassment and upset both before raising her chin by way of challenge.
We make enough. Often enough. Times are just hard. Tomorrow'll be better.
Jeanie knelt down, continuing her casual inspection of our overfull market baskets, the weight of their unsold bounty spilling over where I'd dropped them cattywampus.
When a gambler loses their hand, don't you think it only right they pay their debts?
Laura's clear brow formed storm clouds of confusion at this.
To my mind, forcing a payment on the one you owe is just as bad as refusing to honor an IOU. We don't need a single thing from you.
But Jeanie simply kept up with her examination of our goods without pause nor hesitation.
I ain't offering help without reward. The help I offer is no one-sided gift.
Then what manner of so-called help is it that you're offering?
And with that, Jeanie could have made a proper feast, were she a spider. For Laura was well and truly caught up in her stories and attractions now, and I was not present to warn her nor to absorb Jeanie's desire and appetite for myself. For I was long gone from the scene at this point, and all I can do now is surmise what passed between them, based on what came after. Chapter 3. Jeanie's Folk. Without another word, Jeanie concluded her inventory of our market goods, lifting up a basket in each arm before striding back towards the deep woods. Laura looked on, plumb flabbergasted, before coming to and shouting after her in anger.
You offer help, but then take from us instead. Meaner than a two-headed snake, ain't you?
Jeanie paused, looking back over her shoulder without any particular expression, good or bad.
I can leave your poke here, full of unsold goods. Or I can take you to where they'll sell for top dollar, just as certain as death and taxes.
A peal of laughter rang out, echoing amongst the trees as though a whole invisible chorus had joined in with Laura to mock Jeanie right in her blue face.
Sure. It's just up the path a tick, yonder in the big rock candy mountains. And after we sell all them goods, be sure to introduce me to your pal, the unicorn, what shits solid gold. That'd be grand. It will. Thank you.
I'm not going to sing Big Rock Candy Mountain right now. I'm not. I'm going to keep going. And Laura gave another hearty chuckle, though Jeanie's mouth didn't so much as twitch.
Are you coming? Or will you run long home after our Lizzie?
Don't do it. Okay, I won't. I'm not going to do it. Laura sobered up right quick at this, scowling away. Do it, says Cadmium. I don't know what it is, but do it. It's a song, you know, the Big Rock Candy Mountain. Never mind. Nobody even knows it.
Our nothing. I ain't gonna share my sweetheart you rightfully gave up. Nor am I feeling inclined to just let you walk off with the sum of our hard work, neither.
Jeanie, she just grinned wide as a crescent moon.
All right, fair enough. You gonna carry any of this? Or do I gotta haul it all on my own?
Caution had long since lost its war within Laura's heart, and now curiosity and compassion took turns holding sway. She gave in to curiosity on this one, picking up our remaining goods and trailing after Jeanie with the kind of gait and incorrigible sauciness that it suggests she meant to do that all along and of her own free will and pleasure. She still did not feel the hook that had taken hold in her, nor recognize it as Jeanie enticed her along, setting the good cheese out in her mousetrap. Both of them were now threading through the trees, dodging gooseberry and thumbing mountain mint, saying not a thing, as Laura trailed a step behind and Jeanie took the step ahead. Whenever Laura was like to trip over one of the many obstacles she encountered in their complicated and obstructed way, Jeanie was ever there, either catching her arm or offering a steady shoulder for balance. And throughout this late-night exercise, Laura's confidence in Jeanie grew and grew. For as I have said, Laura trusted nothing she couldn't see with her own two eyes, but as I had made off with our lantern, she couldn't help but find herself obliged to rely on Jeanie now. For Jeanie, she seemed to see their path in the chancy moonlight with a surety and steadiness Laura could not at all manage on her own. I could not myself help but wonder, how did Jeanie know her way? And how could she tell when it was she must stop and keep Laura from taking a fall? For it was full dark by now, and Laura kept to the rear guard the whole trail. Me? I suspect that perhaps Jeanie's eyes secretly glowed, just like those of a cat, revealing things in the darkness as plain and clear as if it were broad daylight. And it was by this power Jeanie could readily see how best to evade the roots and stones and catch Laura as she stumbled. Certainly, she gave Laura cause enough to start seeing her bit by bit in the light of a modest hero. Jeanie's taciturn attitude further cemented that feeling, as she never said a thing, just helped Laura and kept on walking. It served sure as a spell in weaving a tenuous bond, tethering one to the other. But again, I weren't there myself to share any suspicions of that nature with Laura, for at that point I was still a-running, and had little enough mind to evaluate what might transpire in my absence betwixt them. It wasn't until after I arrived home, alone and empty-handed apart from my lantern, that I began to speculate on what sort of mischief Jeanie's hate might be getting up to in my absence.
Where are we going that you are so certain sure we'll sell in the middle of the night what Lizzie and me failed to sell in the morning?
Jeanie shot a grin over one shoulder.
Where? We're gonna go visit my folk.
Laura stopped short, her eyebrows forming a skeptical knot.
Your folks? What have they got to do with anything?
You needn't come along if you're gonna question every little thing on the way.
Since Jeanie hadn't so much as paused, Laura was stuck with no choice but hurrying to catch up again.
Don't get tetchy. I don't know your folks, so I simply can't figure out what they'd have to do with my market goods. It just seems a trifle queer's all I mean to say.
Got the patience of a flea, haven't you?
In the light, Laura would have likely flounced off entirely, but as they'd now walked a fair piece in the dark, she was all turned around sideways and obliged to stay the course and keep following along behind Jeanie. After all, it was that or brave the bears and boogers she couldn't see, and all on her own, and she carried a fondness for her own skin, did Laura. In particular, she generally preferred it to remain covered in her flesh and bones, rather than decorating the jaws of any old beast. So even while Jeanie lost some favor with her, by now, Jeanie was at least the devil she knew. She trudged on in sullen silence, near colliding with Jeanie as she pulled up short in a starlit clearing. Before Laura could determine whether she wished more to bite her own tongue to keep from cussing or to bite Jeanie, as she then felt a mighty inclination to do, a low whistle sounded out from the shadows beyond the tree line, causing her to jump just about clean out of her boots.
Who is it this time? I thought you were the only one to be wandering about the woods and whistling in the night.
Cadmium says, not the boogers. No, we don't like boogers. Boogers are scary. Jeanie just gave her a slow once-over, unimpressed, before turning about, placing 2 fingers to her soft blue lips, and letting out an answering clarion call.
I don't know how it is you came by such a misconception. Did you think that if you can't see a thing, it must not exist? Or if it did, it must be of no account at all?
Laura, she was fixing to give a sharp answer, but before she could... All round them, the woods came alive with whistling and carrying on, whilst at the same time the critters and natural sounds one might expect of a nighttime wood went dead silent, pure silent, still as a long forgotten grave. Jeanie gave a toothsome grin. Cinder Critter says, nope! Yeah, this is where I'd run, for sure.
You wanted to meet my folk, did you not?
Laura, why your fingies yellow? It's because Laura, they were harvesting that root that turns their fingers yellow. She held out one hand, palm up, by way of invitation, and unsure what else she might do in this strange place and with such odd happenings, Laura placed her own hand upon it, ginger as a cat sitting on a thin branch, with hungry dogs baying beneath her. Yellow root. Man, it had to be... It's because she's golden. It had to be yellow root. It couldn't be. It couldn't have been something else. Like it couldn't. It had to be like the most. It's that root that turns her hands yellow. It's yellow root. There we go. She ate my Cheetos. Yo, she didn't eat your Cheetos. But any answer she might have eked out, it got swallowed up by fear itself. For now, Jeanie's folk began to arrive, 1 by 1 and 2 by 2, and, well, they weren't quite what anyone might expect Jeanie's folk to be, not by a long shot, and certainly not without fair warning. Laura, she was unsure herself whether to give a fearful screech or to slink away or to try and brazen it out. And in the swirl of her indecision, Jeanie grasped her hand all the tighter, leading her forward into the center of the clearing.
Laura, greet my folk, would you? And you uns greet her too. Be friendly-like, for we've a whole night to get through together.
Laura gawped at both her and at them, and then at them again, for sure enough they were worth the nearer observation. first, the figure more like a crow than a man hopped forward, head tipping this way and that, giving a sense that he'd no bones at all, just imagined form and foreign colors.
I greet you, Laura, on behalf of the wood and my brethren. I greet. Ya!
And he coughed into his wing, casting apologetic glances all round before retreating. Fine, I'll get my people to call your people. Don't give in, Cinder Critter. At this, the black painter prowled forward on 2 feet, still graceful as any feline alive, eyes fixing on Laura as if she were prey, but not one he meant to eat just this moment.
I greet thee, Laura. Thou art pretty as apple blossoms, and I was glad to know ye.
My skin is crawling. And he gave a little flourish, folding one leg behind him and taking Laura's free hand in his own unnatural furred fingers, and bowing over it as if Laura were a princess and he were an English lord and no animal at all. Laura pulled her hand back with a swiftness no one seemed to take particular note of, and while she shot a despairing look up at Jeanie, Jeanie paid her no never mind, eyes pinned instead to the shadows beyond the trees. Last to shuffle forward was a deer of sorts, its movements jerky and sharp. Somehow, it seemed the most upsetting of the group, and Laura struggled mightily to keep from looking away or covering her eyes with her hand, though she greatly wished to do so. What else could one expect when a deer tried to walk on its hind legs alone, bones creaking with every wrong step? Still, it seemed to her, and not wrongly, that it were far better to keep an eye on these folk of Jeannie's, however hard the exercise might be, and to avoid giving offense to them if she at all could. So she swallowed her screams alongside the bile that rose up in her throat and forced herself to smile politely through gritted teeth. There are times when civility must rely on muscle memory, same as any other exercise, and this was a proper fierce test, one I am assured Laura passed in face of all opposition. Oh, we love Jeannie's folk.
I greet you, Lorpa.
That is the most beautiful voice I've ever heard in my life. Have you guys ever heard a more beautiful voice than that? God, wow, who is this amazing voice actor? Oh well, let's keep going. Jeannie's stony expression finally twitched at this. Come on, Windchimes, come on. Wait a minute, says Zio. What? I'm waiting, Zio. Wait a minute. Jeannie's stony expression finally twitched at this.
It's Laura. Laura.
The poor impersonation of a deer looked genuinely abashed at this instruction.
Lura. Laura. Tularoo.
Lord duh, right, Yoshi? It was difficult to keep an active defense against someone so seemingly defenseless themselves, and true to her tender heart, the more that failure of a deer struggled, the more Laura found herself a shade or two more at ease. Jeanie, on the other hand, she only looked the more irritated, proportionate to his jabbering on. So before Jeanie could vent her ire upon the foolish creature, Laura chose to speak up, her pinned-on smile softening a bit with sympathy.
Fine. I understand you well enough. You don't need to keep pushing yourself.
This direct acknowledgement pleased the booger before her to no end, whilst at the same time quite obviously vexing the 2 others she had spoken to. But envy is a human enough seeming thing too, and a feeling Laura herself was well familiar with. So she cast a friendly eye upon them as well, bent on making amends, and trying in earnest now not to let their strange and fearsome looks shape her perception.
Whew. I haven't met any of your kind before, nor any like you at all, truth be told. I hope you'll forgive my hesitation. I can promise it ain't born of any ill will.
This well-intentioned might was received with far more enthusiasm than she'd anticipated, however, as directly after Laura found herself surrounded by odd admirers. It'd be disconcerting enough to be crowded by such unusual creatures, but it seemed that just as none of them behaved quite right enough to be animals, nor did their manners fit with those of a human being. The big cat had got hold of Laura's hand again and was petting it fondly, claws ever so slightly raking her skin as it did so. The bird booger had developed a fascination with the buttons on her dress, pecking at him and testing him with its beak. And the poor fool of a deer, well, he managed to somehow get his antlers tangled in her hair, and his best efforts at fixing this mistake only served to gum it up worse and worse. Hello, Bee. Nice to see you.
Soft, so smooth, sweet, or tart to taste.
One button, two button, wood button, bone button, horn button, brass button.
Turalu. Ralu ral. Hush now, don't you cry. Lulla, lulla, lullaby. Hush, hush.
Wow, those actors are just amazing. So good. Jeanie, she just looked on in silence, for after Laura's intervention earlier, she'd contented herself with taking the back view, observing events with the same single-minded focus as child watching a pollywog she'd like to catch and put in a jar. Button the hell out of there, says Cinder Critter. Seeing Jeanie making no moves for nor against her, Laura's growing panic gripped her tighter, for she could not figure if Jeanie would answer were she to call out for help, but neither could she bear for things to continue on in this way.
Jeanie!
Chase says, wow, big fan of the bird, actually. Wow, yeah, the bird, I feel like the bird sounds a little bit like a medieval king. Seems a very judicious and economical fellow. I absolutely agree. Terribly charming. Hearing Laura's fearful and desperate cry, Jeanie's mouth curved in a private smile. She didn't move too hurriedly, but made her way out into the middle of the glade again and dumped out the contents of the baskets. She did this without a word nor any expressed intent, but chaos rippled out from her gesture as the folk immediately took notice of the goods spilled out across the soft earth. This distraction served to allow her a moment to set Laura's buttons back to rights, deftly unknot the tangle of hair and antlers, and to remove Laura's hand from its clawed and furred prison. And not a moment too soon, for the same minute she finished, the horde surged away from Laura to examine the modest pile of odds and ends with such enthusiasm, you'd have thought it was a pile of diamonds instead.
What is this? Are you the one that gathered it? How nice. How quaint.
I love it.
How pretty this is. Precious and pretty, rich and rare. I long for such things, and I simply must have all that which I desire.
How much? Much shall you ask? I shall pay you what I owe, and then some.
Turalo. Luralo. To market now, we must go. Lurale, lullaby. Come by.
Laura fell back a step in a hurry, but Jeanie placed hands on her shoulders once more to steady her.
For jam, a gold coin. For soap, a silver coin. For eggs, 3 shiny coins of copper.
The big painter sighed with joy, pawing and sifting through our produce and forage.
Give to me that pumpkin, and turnips by the bucket, and in change, I'll give you sugar and coffee and a freshly killed boar. Goods for goods. My coins are crass.
The wrong-acting deer now tromped a backward knee before Laura, dead eyes pleading with her whilst Jeanie looked on. With an appendage that was neither hand nor hoof, he gestured guiltily at his antlers, which were festooned with torn-out locks of Laura's hair, like tinsel hanging on a city department store Christmas tree.
Virtue Bro just cheered 100 bits.
Virtue, thank you so much for the very generous gift of bits. Appreciate you being here, sir. Shout out to Virtue. I can't see what that sort of cadence, 1 button, 2 button, and then and not immediately think of the count. Nice to see you, Virtue.
I have taken some gold from you, Raleigh, and so to you some gold I pay, Raleigh.
Man, that voice actor, just so good. I can't wait to meet him. And he dropped a poke of solid gold pieces at her feet, before rising again on his abominable multitude of cloven feet and backing away respectfully. Poor Laura, she didn't know which way to look, what she ought to say, or rightly what to think even. She sank down to the ground, and was in short order surrounded by all manner of riches, as our produce and forage and handicraft work vanished off into the woods bit by bit, like a chill gust of wind might knock all the leaves off a tree, leaving it bare branched in the October cold. And throughout it all, Jeanie just stood looking on in quiet, now flipping a single coin over and over again, like as if she were playing heads or tails with herself. Going well, Virtue. Thank you for asking. Hope you are well, sir.
I did promise you'd be able to sell here at night what you couldn't sell by daylight. Did I not?
Narrator is so rude talking about Deer Man. I have this theory. Just an aside here. This is a theory that Wittershins wanted to cast me in the role, like from the beginning, and so this failed attempt at a deer thing is kind of how she sees me, and so it's a typecasting thing, and so the rudeness, that's where it comes from. She can confirm or not. Deer thing is from Princess Mononoke. Or sort of inspired? That is a great question. So we have, Elrem is the one who did the monster designs. And I have a little write-up from them that I'm going to read. And I don't know if they cover the inspiration. But also Wittershins will have some input on that. Very mean, right? Witter, is Yoshi in the story? That's a great question. Okay. And Laura, my Laura, she looked up at Jeanie and she smiled. Chapter 4, A Reckoning. Z, are you asking if there's a thermostat in the game? But throughout all of this, the ups and downs and the twists and turns, I was absent entirely. That is a question for Wittershins. For I'd no sooner arrived home, collapsing on the steps of the porch, gulping and gasping the air like as if I were a landed trout, than my conscience set in, urging me to blunder on back the way I'd just come.
Laura!
But I couldn't go back, because I couldn't even properly sort what it was that impelled me to run in the first place. Certainly I'd never meant to leave my sweetheart behind out of concern my own life alone, That much I'd stake my very chance at salvation on. Even the time Laura had roused a she-bear to anger, I still stomped out right up alongside her, waving a broom over my head like a witch and cussing a blue streak at the creature until it left. I'd been scared almost out of my proper wits by that experience, but though I was shaken like a newborn foal the whole time, never once did it occur to me to stay back where I was safe and allow her to brave the danger alone. So pre-roll is about to go off in just about 30 seconds, so I'm going to go ahead and run the next ad break now. Sorry to anybody that's behind the commercial wall, but I'll see you in just 180 seconds. Welcome back, everyone. Cadmium. Get a load of these lesbians. Yep. Okay. So Lizzie had been more scared than she'd ever been in her life. She doesn't understand herself. So I knew for absolute sure simple fear and danger weren't enough to make me bolt like a scalded dog, leaving my loved one behind. No, at the sight of Jeanie's hate, all manner of different though equally ugly emotions took turns batting me around as they pleased. And now those same feelings weighed down on me heavy as might cement blocks. For I knew, and knew all too well, it weren't on account of seeing hate that I ran, nor hate that I cowered from now. It was on account of it being Jeanie. Because Jeanie, sweet as a berry, and just as true blue Jeanie was. The girl I'd loved with my whole heart, back when my heart was still whole. But Jeanie was dead. She had to be. Else... Cadmium, thank you for the playing command. That else was full to bursting with its own dangers and pitfalls. What if it weren't a hate? What if Jeanie herself stood there before me? I was prepared and steeled against a lover that left, but a lover somehow miraculously returned? That I had no preparation for. If she'd somehow had good cause to be gone all these years, could I find it in me to turn her away? And if I did, what would then become of her? Or by the other hand, what would become of Golden Laura if I didn't turn Jeanie away? Cadmium, that would solve this problem, wouldn't it? Had I to choose which between them to save, to take in out of the cold, whose hands to chafe by the fireside, upbraiding them for lingering so long in the nighttime wood? Who to hold and to cherish? Who to wake up to when the daylight came round again? Ma'am, you have two hands. Not everybody can do polyamory, Cadmium. Not everybody can do it. It's not everybody's cup of tea. I worried maybe that I couldn't choose. And if I couldn't choose, I couldn't stand to face them either. Either one didn't deserve to. Thank you so much for the follow. Follows are anonymous, but please feel free to engage at your own comfort level. Bad enough if it were Laura I'd failed. That I had time yet to fix. But if it were Jeanie, well, that'd be both failure and cowardice compounded, alongside years of hurt compressed and refined by failure and regret until it formed a proper perfect diamond out of guilt, rather than the milder irritation that shapes a pearl. Now I was home. I couldn't help but question just about every decision I'd ever made. The questions fair cartwheeled top over tail through my head, running in circles upon circles, making no headway whatsoever in the process. But they never tried. I mean, I don't know enough of the backstory. I just hoped and hoped no harm would come to either one of them, and all the while dread bloomed in my heart like a lily. 'Cause me? I couldn't from this distance discern friend from foe. Whatever I might have once had felt for Jeanie, I couldn't entirely trust her hate with Laura. A hate it was sure to carry regrets from a life cut short. Jealousy, it sprang up green as the grass that blankets a grave, and weren't any too discriminate between one and the next, nor the living and the dead. But Laura, she warned herself much of the Sharon kind, so neither could she be trusted with Jeanie, my lost love. Even if Jeanie weren't that any longer, even if Jeanie herself weren't any longer. Such like speculation kept eating at me the night through. I couldn't drag myself inside to where I felt safe, but neither could I trek back into the woods to find the one I'd left there, for I couldn't rightly decipher which I most longed to claw back to hearth and safety. And then the dawn finally came, all dressed in red and gold, and with her a figure showed, flitting in and out of the tree line, little more than a shadow against the silver wreaths of mountain fog. Laura. It had to be Laura. For Jeanie? She was dead. She had to be, because if she weren't, it had to be Laura that emerged from the wood, her grace and warmth flown aloft like a chivalric standard. Because after everything, after all I'd ever done, anything else would break my heart to pieces. It couldn't be anything else. It just plain couldn't. For Jeanie, she was long, long gone, just as she had been, and just as she had to be.
Oh, Lizzie!
Laura! Laura!
She came stumbling out from the deep wood with the right goodest and sunniest of all smiles, cheeks flushed like summer roses, hair streaming behind her gold as the dawn, and her arms overladen with our heavy market baskets. I lit forward with a spring in my heels, hugging her tight and causing the baskets to tumble, and us to tumble on after him into the leaf litter and dirt.
You're safe. You're home. I'm so sorry. I'm lowering a toad. Useless as...
But she just laughed and laughed and laughed again, stopping up my mouth with her own, embracing me fiercely with love that carried no tint of malice in it. Laura, all gold, my Laura. When she'd had her proper fill of kissing me, hugging me, and making much of me, I buried my face against her skin with a sigh, feeling that if I could but fix myself there, even if I starved thereafter, I'd still die happy as a jaybird.
But Lizzie, you must see. We two are almost as rich as a Rockefeller now, and it's all thanks to your Jeanie's folk that we are.
This pronouncement was so far outside of any of the multitudinous ways I'd imagined things might turn, I was plumb struck mute by it. For a long minute, all I could do was sit goggling at her like an owl that waked at noon by accident and wondered where the moon might have gotten in the meantime. Might have got to in the meantime.
Jeanie's folk.
Laura, she weren't deterred a whit by my hesitation, gathering up the baskets again and setting them before her, proud as if each one carried her firstborn alongside a hunk of gold just for show.
See for yourself. I admit they were crude and off-putting at first, but money spends the same no matter who it is that pays, nor how they go about earning it. I don't much like your Jeanie, but I am grateful to her for this, and might even find it in me to offer her hospitality, should she come round with any similar offers.
As she spoke, she poured out her bounty before me, eyes bright with the clear expectation I'd be just as delighted as she was herself. 5-syllabled words for the win. And for her sake, I made a show of sifting through it. But in the end, I had to force myself to speak the words stuck in my throat. Oh, do we tell her it's junk or pretend it's treasure? Well, this is pretty serious. I think we have to tell her the truth, right? I'm gonna tell her it's junk. I eyed the trash a good long while, then raised my gaze, fixing on her with as much tenderness as I could summon on a whim, and taking her hand gently in mine. Honesty's the best policy. Thank you, Ocreatus.
Laura, this here, it's no gold.
She appeared pure bumfuzzled by this until she looked herself on the bounty she'd spread before us.
But they said, the knothead deer, he changed the gold of my hairs for...
Then, and only then, she gasped in horror, raking gold-stained fingers through the right gaume mess poured out before us, like as if she were sifting for some manner of riches buried under the junk.
No! 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 They offered me! I saw it! I saw it, Lizzie! I promise I did. 2 silver, 3 coppers, sugar, and boar meat, and gold. So much gold. They promised. They promised.
She was growing more frantic by the minute. I pulled her away from the sticks and stones and leaves, and she collapsed against me, sobbing like a child, and I knowed not what to do.
Hush now. Hush.
I wished I could offer her reassurances. My lover had come home to me despite all my fears. Not so many minutes ago I swore that'd be all I'd ever wish for again. But Laura had arrived with our baskets filled with stones and trash, without any of our saleable goods, not a single one, and now had fallen to despair, and I was hard put not to sob right alongside her. For had the baskets stayed where I'd left them, I thought we might go back and fetch them again now that it was daylight. Might lose some produce and dried meat to forest critters, but likely wouldn't suffer too much of a loss. Guess someone was bamboozled, right, Yoshi? Now it seemed everything was gone, and that spelled trouble for us. Already the days were growing shorter, and soon we'd be out of chances to trade and stock up oil and the like for the winter months. A bad market day was a worry, but to lose all our saleable goods was a full-blown disaster. Laura knew just as well as I that we needed those things, and she could generally tell the difference between coins and dirt clods. So how on earth did she come to sell off our livelihood for junk we couldn't possibly use? Something stunk here. Someone took our treasure for trash. That was on them. But I couldn't make any sense of how it might have happened at all.
What happened, Laura?
And between her sobbing, she told me all that had transpired after I left the woods. After her tale was finished, Laura and I walked the wood till it was well after sundown, and we were full footsore and stove up. I'd searched the bushes and rocks and furrows for our lost goods, even going so far as to peek inside hollowed-out stumps and animal dens. Throughout it all, Laura just kept hollering at the trees, begging and cussing by turns, demanding payment from the strange creatures she'd seen, or demanded Jeanie leastways show her blue face again if she dared to. But even when the moon was on the rise, neither of our searches had borne any fruit, not even so much as a pip nor a rind. All we could do was trudge back home again, every bit as empty-handed as we'd set out. And when we got home, Laura took herself directly to bed and refused to rise again after. If I'd bothered with sleeping, one might have said I waked with the dawn, but I'd watched that selfsame sun tuck itself in beyond the western mountains, and now I sat on my porch still, observing as it rose again from behind the eastern ridges. But Laura, she remained sleeping. Though it weren't a restful kind, she was pale, pale as winter frost on October leaves. It was a pale that meant something were wrong and bad, pale that matched up with dead fish bellies and poison mushrooms after a rain. She were fading, my Laura, and had lost all her gold. Days it had been since she'd come home with baskets worse than empty, and days since she'd been abed, either raven with fever or deadly silent with the same.
Laura, you gotta get up. There's work to be done. Laura, I can't tend the winter crop with you like this. Ain't gonna be no greens nor taters at Christmas. Not at this rate. Nothing to mash or stew at all.
I trickled the barest and thinnest stream of broth through her lips, willing her to swallow, while full expecting she wouldn't.
Can't even bring myself to tap into the jam, lest it be the last you ever canned. So you simply gotta wake up, Laura. Else we'll both starve. We will.
I took her limp hand in mine, gripping it tight, tears bleeding from my eyes, steady as rain.
If you keep this up, I'll run plumb mad. I won't let you alone again. Promise. Just come back to me, Laura. I can't let someone else go. Not after.
And for the first time in days, her lids trembled and fluttered.
Laura?
I helped her to sit up, cradling her head as if she were a newborn, supporting her shoulders with a mound of pillows, worrying over her comfort as much as I could.
Oh, my head feels awful. How long was I asleep?
Come on, Laura, uppies, says Cinder Critter. Get up, Laura, come on.
Laura, you've been out longer than I can stand.
She heaved a trembling sigh at this, slumping against me limply and moaning.
I hope that if I had to wake again, it'd be to find all this was an ugly dream. Should have known better.
Mr. Shins, come on, man. That's how I said it. I'd be sad too if I found out my gold riches were a lie, right, Yoshi? Bummer. For a moment, she was still enough. I thought maybe she'd drifted off again. But she suddenly lurched forward, swinging her feet out of the bed.
This won't wash. Let me up, Lizzie. I'm gonna go fetch our things.
I reeled back, struggling to keep her in bed for a while. A breath ago, she'd been too weak to lift a finger. She now pushed against me with frenzied strength.
Laura, hush. You're not fit to go anywhere. If you need something, tell me, and I'll take care of it. What can I do for you? What is it you need?
Till now, her eyes were glazed with fever and delusion. But at my question, all of her drew up in a sharp point, her gaze scorching as it finally met mine.
What do I need?
Her pale, dry lips cracked open in a smile, spitting and bleeding in places for lack of use and moisture.
Kill that bitch for me, would you? Jeanie? Kill the one that ought to be dead, or else I'm like to die myself.
Pumpkin Gordman, hello. Chapter 5. What was lost, what was found, and what remained in the end. I sucked in a breath and held it several minutes longer than I meant for, as though the wind had been knocked clean out of me. For in spite of everything, I'd no desire to end Jeanie. Not even if she were a haint, and not even if she'd joined hands with devils and robbing us. Once that I'd loved her right well, and even now I couldn't stand to think of her being more dead than my imagination had painted her all these years past. But if the alternative meant Laura'd die, then the least I could do was to go out and pretend to kill my dead lover.
All right. Will that make you well again?
For the first time in days, color flooded Laura's face, flushing her red as the sunrise I'd just watched, waves of feverish heat succeeding one after another. After another.
Good. When she's dead, I just know I'll have my strength back at last. Don't you fret. There are still walnuts and chestnuts to be found, and I might could find some rose hips even if I look careful. I'll gather them nuts and roast them and trap a brace of rabbits maybe and make a whole mess of jam from any leftover hips and berries. And we'll be able to make up for all that I lost to them demons.
My mouth fair watered at the menu her ambition laid out before running dry again with knowing I'd no intention of chasing after Jeanie's haint in the dark, nor had any idea how one might harm a haint, even had I meant to engage in such. But if me fair bathing myself in hogwash was enough to bring Laura back to herself, well, that were a price I considered fair enough to pay without any haggling whatsoever.
You just keep your puny self abed, and let me take care of the hard work.
She didn't fight this, but instead settled herself back against that bank of cushions once more, letting her eyes drift closed so that with her rosy cheeks and golden hair, she looked like nothing so much as a princess straight from a fairy story. I gave her hand a gentle pat, and then turned, leaving our cabin quiet as I could. Soon as I was outside again, I sent up a prayer of thanks that I'd never yet met with Jeanie in my walks since Laura's illness, nor spotted the dratted lightning bugs that heralded her last arrival. Safest course for all was pretense. Laura only need know that Jeanie were gone. Jeanie just needed to stay gone, as she already was, and all I had to do was wander the woods for a day, find a squirrel or similar game to stain my hunting knife with, and then trot on home. Simple. Fool, thank you for welcoming the raiders. Simple. That's a joke the fates like to play on us time to time. Because simple, well. Cadmium, thank you for shouting out the fool. God and the fates laugh at simple plans.
What are you doing here, Jeanie?
For it were Jeanie that stepped out of the tree line, flinching at the bald light of day, weighted down with rough-spun baskets. She looked at me same she'd looked at me before, with a painful sort of longing and intensity I could not stand to meet. So instead, I dropped my gaze to the ramshackle kit that hung on her trembling arms.
You brung us the debt you owe, did you?
Laura just dead inside on the floor. Maybe. I meant that to be facetious, to put her on notice, and I tried throwing in a glare for good measure. But the wall I meant to keep up, it tumbled just with the tremor of her chin.
Yes, I brought it, but you needn't be so mean.
I tried to keep a straight face. I ought to have warned her away so she'd never bother to crawl back, but just tuck her tail and slink off into the woods again forever, and I could pretend I'd killed her so Laura'd be happy again. But all I'd planned for that day was a walk in the woods and some minor play acting, and facing the genuine article left all my defenses in stark disarray. I pointed at the clumsy reed baskets she'd held with all the accusation I could muster, even as I swallowed up a passing fond memory to do it. She'd always been terrible at handicrafts, and whatever else, it seemed that hadn't changed a bit.
It were wrong of you to steal from Laura.
She dropped the baskets hard, which didn't do them any good at all, sloppy as they were, brushing her hands together as produce and goods spilled across the path, a jar of jam rolling up to stop at the side of my foot.
I never stole a thing. Not from you, and certain sure not from that harpy of urine. But I'll gift this back to you all the same.
I bent down, puzzled as I sorted the mess. It were the same goods we'd lost, every stitch. Nothing missing.
But why?
She shrugged her shoulders, turning her face to the side.
After I seen you the other night, I remembered me how hard you took our first winter, back when we'd had to skimp and scrape to make it by. I foolishly thought you might welcome the return of the things that snake of a girl gifted me, lest you were obliged to see another hard winter. But I see I needn't have bothered.
Between the strain and lack of sleep, I was beginning to unravel just as badly as did the baskets a moment before.
She never did. She told me you'd taken her to meet your folk, and they brought all our goods with promises of gold that turned out worse than wooden nickels.
Her face started out with fury, but ended on a frightful blank instead.
My folk? She claims I took her to meet my...
She broke into a quiet, hiccuping sort of laugh, one that sat in the middle distance between crying and screaming, and subsided into either a sigh or a sob.
Jeanie.
My folk have no dealings with outsiders, if they can at all help it. I once tried to go out into the world more myself, and even then, I'd never be so ignorant that I'd lead a stranger to 'em. No, sir, not a chance.
Then why'd Laura?
I'd like to know the answer of why Laura myself. No, me and my folk don't go out of our way to meet with anyone. Last of all, a girl madder than hellfire, and just as mean.
She gave another shrug, fetching up against a tree, as if she were more comfortable with the shadows of the wood than the sunshine of the clearing.
Time was when any and all ills were laid up to our account. We were thought to have fairy blood, or practice witchcraft, or any manner of other unnatural things, each one worse than the next. I didn't give it much of any heed when I was little, but after I was growed and spent time outside, I learned to think the Oldens had it right. Keeping ourselves to ourselves is best.
Is that why you left me, then?
She went still, mouth twisting this way and that with thinking, before finally lifting her eyes back up to meet mine.
Yes and no. I knowed you liked the solitude of mountain life okay, but other times you hankered after company. Lingering in town on market days, I never would go out less I had absolute need to.
I opened my mouth to protest this, but she just gave her head a single shake, smiling at me as though I weren't there, but just a memory.
I knowed I made you lonesome, Lizzie. And guilt watching you sit at home when you'd rather be out visiting took away any words I might have said. So you were even more lonesome. So I thought I'd go home and clear my head for a bit.
A bit? Just a matter of 5 years you've been gone without a word or a letter. Long enough I was sure you were dead.
Nothing wrong with witchcraft, says Cinder Critter.
That how you fell in with your new sweetheart, then? Crying over my imaginary grave?
My temper was by now a bubble off level, and I ended up giving that jam jar a kick that sent it careening off into the woods.
I waited for you, Jeanie, but you never showed.
She swiped at her cheeks, as if there were tears there, though her voice was steady enough as she spoke.
It was a long trek to where my folk live, and I didn't expect winter to set in so early, nor for it to be so hard. By the time everything thawed out again, the trail was washed out, and that took another month or more to clear. But I did come back for you, Lizzie, I did.
Jeanie stood up straight, staring past me with narrowed eyes.
Only, when I did come, you weren't home. She were.
I realized then that she was looking toward the house, so I whirled round to do the same. And what greeted my sight was Laura, standing on the porch, trembling like a leaf, and loading up my hunting rifle.
Laura! Don't! Put down that gun!
She could hardly stand, hair stuck to her brow with cold sweat, her poor feet bare, but her teeth were gritted with determination as she went about her work.
Don't you worry. I'm a plenty capable shot. And even if I don't much like the sight of blood, I don't think I'll mind much if it's blue instead of red. You don't have to worry about me, nor about her, for very much longer.
And before I could answer, she finished with loading and fired off a shot into the trees just beside where Jeanie stood motionless.
Dad blame rifle.
And she directly set to reloading the thing.
She told me that you were happier thinking I was gone. That you were at peace and not to stir you up anymore.
Laura dropped her shot, falling to her knees and scrabbling to pick it up and continue reloading.
Which? My Lizzie ain't gonna believe a word of your lies. She's seen what you've done to me and set out to kill you. Lucky you've done us the hard work and showed up yourself all primed for it.
Jeanie fixed her gaze back on me, her face earnest.
I won't believe her. But I'll believe you. Did you come to kill me, Lizzie? Because if so...
And before I could protest, she stepped out to the side of me, spreading out her arms wide, as if to present a perfect target.
Die, you! Laura!
She fired again, and this time it only just grazed Jeanie's arm. For whatever she'd said, she was a right poor shot, but less so with a steady target ahead of her.
Huh. I guess you can bleed, at least. Why ain't it blue? Not that it's red, neither. You ain't human, but still,
Not a great shot, that Laura is. No, indeed. Not terribly great. She's sick right now. It's not fair.
I listened to her at first, but when I came back around again, feeling it still mattered to explain my circumstances so you didn't think I'd left you or was dead, she turned into threats. Sometimes to me, but sometimes to you. She's plumb crazy, Lizzie. Those goods.
She gestured at the scattered bounty afore us.
Shut up! Lizzie, don't let her mislead you with that forked tongue of hers. I trusted her too. And look what that got me.
I wouldn't be presenting a perfect target while there's also someone you don't trust loading a gun to shoot me. Fair.
Shut up!
She was struggling hard to reload that rifle a third time. Despite being on her hands and knees, panting for breath and scarce able to raise her head as she shouted with painful desperation.
She threw those goods at me, she did. Tossed them at my feet and told me to take it as payment. If I'd just stay out of your life forevermore. If I'd just be dead, like she said I ought to be. For she said if I didn't agree, if I refused those goods, well, she'd make it so I really was dead then.
First true words you've spoken, devil. If you ain't dead yet, I'm gonna kill you before you can poison my Lizzie like you poisoned me.
She finally had the last shot loaded, and while she couldn't stand any longer, laying flat gave her a steadiness she'd lacked before. Both these girls are off their shits. Cadmium. Probably not the safest call. Great power play, though. Indeed. But Jeanie kept standing like a circus knife thrower's target. Despite the runnel of dark blood that dripped from one arm, her eyes, though, they stayed fixed on me with something like an apology. Time slowed down a bit then, even while it still felt like it were going far too quick to catch the tail of. I'd just enough time to act on one thing, but whatever it was, it had to be soon and it had to be decisive. Do we holler at Jeanie to move? Block Laura's shot myself? I don't know. What will you do, Mr. Shins? Let Laura shoot. I mean, I don't want to die. We don't want Lizzie to die, do we? This seems like killing yourself. Let Laura shoot is letting Jeanie die. I feel like this is the way I want to go. Does anybody have a vote? Speak now or forever hold your peace. All right. We're gonna holler at Jeanie to move. Sacrifice yourself, says Cinder Critter. For the greater good. Holler, says Wittershins. Do we listen to the writer? I don't know if we were listening to the writer. I feel like that Laura girl's got some interesting points to Short Run Gaming. Somebody might be biased. I don't know. Maybe. I don't trust any of the answers to be as they sound, says Cadmium. Let Laura shoot. I have no stake in this, says the Lonely Burb. Hello and welcome, the Lonely Burb. Oh my God. Okay, if we let Laura... So everybody gave me a different answer. Holler at her. Thank you, little Mr. Holler. Okay, thank you. Okay, we're gonna holler. We have a vote. We are hollering. Let's holler at Jeanie to move. Witter's cackling leads me to believe I may be right, says Cadmium. You may be right, Cadmium. I hollered the best warning I could, though it just came out plumb garbled nonsense.
Gina!
Laura, she give me a look that suggested I'd lost my wits entirely, grinding her teeth the better to express just how dumb as a rock I was. I'm Jeanie, SVA, can't trust me either. Oh no! Little Miss Nerd, welcome. Thank you for being here. We have VAs in chat. It's very exciting. Plot twist. Okay, Laura thinks we're dumb as a rock. Jeanie seemed to know I meant to speak at her, though, so she twisted herself to face me better, and that twist saved her. For where the bullet buried itself in the trees behind, that were just where her heart was stationed before. And the dumb questions that had haunted me all dissolved once I understood that fact.
Jeanie, are you...
She barreled straight up and into me crying, her true blue self, blue as a berry, and just as sweet. While behind us, Laura screamed and beat at her chest until she collapsed once more. There weren't nothing clean about any kind of feeling humans might have. Nothing clean, nor plain, nor simple. Even so, Laura's death hung round my neck like a millstone, and I couldn't help but feel that if she turned haint, I'm the one she'd come for. And she'd have every right. She'd told me she did, that if I didn't kill Jeanie, she was like to die herself, and I didn't have any faith in it when she'd said it, but now I was burying her. And while I couldn't let her shoot Jeanie, it still felt wrong-wise, like the fulfillment of a curse or similar bad luck prophecy. Damn indeed. Rip Laura. Oof. Oh, you know. Hello and welcome, So Peachy.
It ain't your fault. Consumption takes folk of all stripes.
Jeanie, blue as a berry and just as sweet. My Jeanie who helped me through all the pains of letting Laura rest. My Jeanie who held me dear, who offered herself to the bullet and then stepped away from it, who helped me carry Laura back into the house once that she'd collapsed, tucked her in, and spoke ill of her no more. Jeanie, who had hidden folk she daren't introduce me to. That is, until...
You're hobbling again, granny woman.
I ain't no granny woman. You is.
And we each pretended we were whole and fit as ever we were, while leaning across one another for balance as we ascended the porch steps.
Law.
For when I looked back at the wood, I noted some of those selfsame blue fireflies had started up again, though I had seen neither hide nor hair of any such in the years and years since that first time. So I trundled back down the steps, laughing like a girl again, spinning in their midst. But when I turned to Jeanie, sure she must admit now I was hale and hearty as ever I were. Oh, as I ever were. She'd an unfamiliar twinkle in her eye, and she wore that rare smile on her thinned mouth that was 1 part happy to 3 parts sad.
I think you're finally ready to meet my folk, Lizzie.
The suggestion left me agog, for I'd asked she introduced me many a time over the years, but been refused. Still, now it were on offer, I wasn't one to let the chance slide.
Roundabout time. You lead and I'll follow. Where do we find your folk, love?
And she shot me just one more secret grin before turning her back to me and threading into the trees. But I were slow to follow, hobbling on over roots and branches, and soon she paused, turning to face me with hands on hips and impatience all over her blue face.
Are you coming? Or will you run long home?
But I didn't stop, for she were my home, wherever she might be, and she knowed it right well. I'd follow her any place. Though that was afore I'd met her folk, for it was then I learned that sometimes what we know and what we love, they won't always turn out just the same. All right. If One Goes Astray. I'm really excited to talk with voice actors and the developers. If we're going to go ahead and jump into Discord, and I will meet you guys there. Went about as well as I expected, says Cadmium. Jeanie, will-o'-the-wisp ass motherfucker. All right, 1 second, and I'm gonna jump into Discord, see who all's there. Wittershins is gonna join us on this microphone. So we've got Gina, we've got Chase, we've got Haley, who is the voice of Lizzie.
No.
The voice of Jeanie. I was close. So close. And then we have toffl, who did backgrounds, as well as a bunch of other stuff. Toffl was really active on this project.
Yeah. And those backgrounds are incredible. They're so immersive and so lovely. Oh,
absolutely.
They really are.
Very, very.
Thank you.
toffl also did the GUI, and was just generally helpful. Just like on top of everything. This is the first jam that I've participated in myself, so I kind of got to see, like I was in the Discord and I kind of got to see stuff happening. So that was very cool for me. So kudos to toffl, because toffl was like, hey, what's going on? Hey, like they were just, they were getting stuff done. Wittershins is here on the mic.
Hello, that's me.
So I have a bunch of questions for you guys, and I think Mike does audio. Hello, nice to see you. I think Remnantation was in the chat. If Rem is here, Rem can chime in. So Rem did the sprites for the game. The human sprites. And I have some people that couldn't be here. They sent me some stuff to read. to kind of answer some of the questions that I was going to ask. But I was wondering if you guys could just talk a little bit about, this may be mostly Widdershins, but what inspired the shape of the narrative, and what was your approach, Widdershins, to developing this story and its characters?
Ooh. I hadn't been going to do Spooktober this year, but somebody was like, you should do it. You should do it. You've got, a break from other projects. Like you're really overwhelmed by all of this real life stuff. So maybe just doing something short and sweet. It's like, I know I'm not. Oh, now I have an idea for it, and I have to.
This person sounds like a terrible person.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just an absolute wretch.
For anybody who's confused, that was me, by the way.
It was.
It's like, oh yeah, you should do it.
it was just one of those things where my brain throws a lot of random things at the wall, and sometimes they stick together even if they don't belong together. And for me, this year, that was, I'd been really into Appalachian folklore over the last year, on and off. Like, I've just been seeing it pop up a lot more, and it's like, wow, there are so many overlaps between the folklore of the Appalachians as well as that of Scotland and Ireland, as well as elsewhere. And that's one of my favorite things, is just kind of seeing how different folklore fits together across cultures, and how other cultures can influence the folklore of a region while also kind of picking up new things. So that was one thing that had been just already kind of floating in my brain as like interesting. And I don't know why my brain also connected it with Christina Rossetti's poem, The Goblin Market. But that was where I landed. It's like, what if I did, if I do an adaptation, a very loose adaptation of The Goblin Market, but set it in 1930s Appalachia and make the very sapphic subtext in the poem, like, it's intense. It's like, and they were sisters. It's like, no, they're not. It's like, let's make this the super text it's really coming across as. Okay,
so I have to, regarding the Goblin Market, what happens in the Goblin Market that makes it that goes beyond that subtext? That makes it clear that they're not sisters in your mind?
Well, the issue with the Goblin Market is
Cadmium says, and they were roommates,
quote unquote sisters. And there's a lot of noise made about their golden head by golden, like there was so much talk about the blonde tresses and golden hair and golden heads and all of this, that was part of what inspired like Laura's descriptions as being all gold. But the issue for them is they are out late after market, and here the goblins hawking their wares. They have all of these different odd assortments of fruits and goods and treats and things that you can't find, and it's forbidden. And Lizzie runs away. But Laura's curiosity in the poem prompts her to stay, and she samples the fruit, and then she is ailing, but she can't hear the goblins anymore, and the only thing that would solve it is if she were to get another taste of the goblin fruit. And Lizzie, in order to save her sister, goes and confronts the goblins, and they try and ply her with this fruit, and she's like, no, I want to buy it to go. And they're like, no, there is no to go. She's like, well, I'm not eating it. And the goblins grow angry and pelt her with fruit until she is just like drenched in fruit pulp and juice. And she goes home and she's like, look, Laura, eat me. It's like there's a line, something to the effect of like, lick me, taste me, make much of me. And that is how she cures her sister, is her sister just like licks the fruit juice off of her. And that cures her.
You know what? That seems perfectly normal to me. That seems like a very normal thing.
And they still remember when they were adults and married to men and had children of their own, like how they saved each other. It's like, okay.
No heterosexual explanation for that.
So yeah, yes. That was
so sisterly. Yep, definitely.
That's the poem.
Okay, that's okay. So that is a great explanation. Thank you. Since we have so many VAs here, I want to ask some VA questions. How did you all get involved in this project? I know, but I don't think everybody who is watching knows. Why don't I pick on Haley? Haley, do you mind telling us how you got involved?
Don't pick on Haley. Haley's nice.
That's what I do.
I knew I'd be picked on. I felt it in my bones. Windchimes reached out to me because I had put in my demo spiel in the VN Dev Discord that I am based in the Appalachian Mountains. So it was pretty good.
Oh, I knew that. You're Appalachia based.
I am born and raised Appalachian.
How does this? So speaking from somebody who is from the area, how does this story strike you as an Appalachia story?
It well, first of all the verbiage and stuff in it is used perfectly. I didn't know a lot of people that was alive during the 1930s. My papa was born in 1926 though, but he was not a man that used a lot of slang. But my mom, she was around for all of her aunts and uncles who were older than Papa, so she was able to help a lot if Windchimes had any questions about, like, I know you asked me how to use yuns, and I was like, yes. I'm not 100. I'm gonna ask my mom. Mom. She was like, yeah, that's right. And I was like, okay, cool.
No, I want to give extra credit to Haley because Haley was my consult on a lot of the language. Like when I wrote something, it's like, am I using this correctly here, or is this just unhinged?
It felt right to me. No, it felt right to me. I was excited to see certain words. You weren't there for like the directing sessions, but there were certain words that you used that I came across them and I was like, what was it? I swanny. Oh, or like poke. Oh, my mom says poke all the time. I was so excited about it. So yeah,
That's
I got real
awesome.
excited knowing that it was set in Appalachia because I don't see a lot of projects that are based in Appalachia, especially projects that aren't the typical stereotypes that we have. This one has no stereotypes in it whatsoever.
That was a goal of mine.
Yeah.
That's so. It sounds like really good fortune then that I really enjoyed your performance. So yeah, it was I've enjoyed everybody's performance a lot. But also like being able to weigh in and be a sounding board for the language, which Windchimes, was the language a challenge for you?
Huge.
Can you talk a little bit? I'm going to come back to the voice actors here, but can you talk a little bit? I mean, I got to admit that I don't think of Appalachia language as being this lyrical, beautiful. Can you talk about your approach to writing the dialect? I mean, it sounds like you consulted with Haley quite a bit.
Oh man, I did consult with Haley quite a bit. I did a ton of research. There was an amazing documentary that I found on YouTube that was dedicated to mountain speak, which is where I picked up some of the phrases that I wanted to use. But the more I read about it, the more I really just fell in love with the speech patterns. There's actually been a lot of research done into the Appalachian dialect since the 1930s. And while it's gone back and forth, there have been times when there are scholars that have come forth and said that this is one of the oldest existing dialects in the English language. It is more of a mix than just something that is pure, but because the Appalachians have such isolated communities, there are certain words like afeard gets used. Most of the English-speaking countries adopted afraid over time. Afeard is Shakespearean era text,
it does.
But it has existed since then. It never changed. So there are pockets where the dialect picks up words that are not necessarily new or bastardizations of English that we know, but they're originators of words that we use. throughout English-speaking countries. So that was something really interesting that I really enjoyed kind of delving into. It was both a big challenge because I wanted to make sure I was using terms correctly and not just, peppering in speech with slang that I didn't perfectly understand. But it also was surprising to me how many different turns of phrase I already knew and recognized from, Midwestern relatives, and also from a childhood in which I absolutely adored the writings of Mark Twain.
Oh, yeah.
But there are pockets of things that are they are poetry. Like one of the things that I know I had to I think I woke you up because I was watching the documentary in the middle of the night.
I don't remember.
One of the many times I woke you up because I got excited by something there was a moment in the documentary where they were talking about making use of resources, and the woman said, "We ate everything on the hog but the squeal." And that is poetry. It has the same kind of descriptive and evocative lyricism that we like to attribute to Irish and Scots. Mm-hmm. But it's homegrown. We don't have to go overseas for lyrical verbiage or for fairy tales. We have fairy tales at home.
We have fairy tales at home. That should have been the log line.
I considered it.
Back to the VAs. Chase, how did you get involved?
Well, I've mercifully been involved in 2 prior Spooktober projects written by Windchimes, and I'm a Tennessee native and based in East Tennessee, and where at daytime I'd be able to see the Appalachian Mountains from here, and that I think was a particular reason to participate. And growing up, I saw Mountain Talk myself, and I remember watching it with my mother, and she remarked how much my great-grandfather sounded like Popcorn Sutton, the moonshiner, in that documentary. And but my grandparents were extremely scornful of, and one great-grandfather in particular, were extremely scornful of superstition and bad language as they saw it, and even shed the pronunciation, the Appalachian pronunciation for Appalachian. And so nothing came down to me when it came to folklore or that kind of thing, which is interesting in its own way. But this was certainly a way to connect with the history of the area, and I'm very fortunate to have been involved.
I enjoyed your performance.
I did too.
It always makes me laugh. I heard it many, many times when I was in here when Windchimes is putting it all together. Yeah. So yeah, just great. Gina, what about you? How did you get involved?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I've had the great pleasure of working on a previous Butterfly Rocket Studios title. And I was scrolling through the casting call posts for Spooktober, and I saw one that I was like, oh, this looks interesting. And it wasn't until after I'd already read through the entire description and was reading the poem that was the prompt for this audition that I was like, wait a sec, wait, I know these people. Wait a moment. And got really excited because I was like, I was independently interested in this pitch. And then was way more interested when I realized I'd get a chance to work with this crew. So I was delighted when y'all reached back out and I got a chance to work on this. A lot of Southern VAs here. I'm from Georgia originally, so not Appalachia, but yes, okay. I am. My mother's from Waycross, Georgia, which is a different accent altogether, but because of that and Southern roots, and I used to spend a lot of time in North Carolina. This was a great way to sort of connect with pieces of my childhood.
That's so cool. So I have to tell you, I can't tell you how often I walked in while Windchimes was mixing this and going, is that Mary Beth? Oh, is that Mary Beth? Wow. And now I'm going to be like, it's Mary Beth, Laura. I may have let out a bit of a
bird-like shriek when I got the message from EC that you had auditioned. It's like, yes! Quick!
That is the sweetest thing in the world. Thank you. I mean, God, that's a fun project, and this was a blast. This was an absolute blast. I love your use of language. I thought it was just such a beautiful thing to read. It's such a beautiful thing now that it's all mixed together to hear. And I also want to shout out both Haley and Chase. I love your performances, Haley. I feel like you bring so much like charisma and like she's so charming but so spooky at the same time. Like, it's so good. And Chase, what a fun goblin. What a cool dude.
Likewise, you guys inhabit the characters wonderfully.
Thank you. I feel the same towards y'all.
Wow, we have a lot of people in the southern side. Joy is in chat going, I grew up in North Carolina. Love that state. Wow. So we've got the southern love here tonight. That's great.
Oh, and I wanted to say real quick, Windchimes, if you watch any Dolly Parton documentaries, that's also Appalachian based. She's from exactly the Smoky Mountains.
Oh gosh, I think I knew that on one level and I didn't connect it.
Haley, can you talk a little bit about your process for the role of Jeanie?
Well, first of all, I never get to play anything spooky, or I don't want to say that Jeannie's particularly an antagonist, but she's definitely not a protagonist. And like, so I got excited to play a spookier role because nobody ever wants me to play spooky roles. They're like, do you want to be a little boy? And I'm like, no. Let me be a scary person, please.
Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, they are. But I'm never anything spooky. So it was really fun. My process, I didn't really have much of a process because a lot of the writing kind of put me in the mindset real good.
I understand that.
So,
now, having read through having read through it end to end now, I feel that because the sort of lyricism of it just puts you there.
It is a proper fairy tale for sure. Like the way it's written, you can't tell what century it's written in just by the verbiage of it, and I really like that a lot. Because I feel like there's usually a lot of ambiguity in fairy tales like that. But outside of that, the only process I had was when I was in the booth. I don't have much of an accent to begin with, but like when I get in the booth, I'm like, no accent, none, absolutely none. You put that hillbilly away, put it in your pocket. But this time I was able to let it go, and I had to fight with myself a little bit on that.
Oh, I love it.
I'm so happy that you brought it out for us. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Gina, same question. Process?
Absolutely. I mean, this one was a really fun one because we got the scripts ahead of time, so I could read through. And my initial read on Laura is I'm like, oh, she's that like flawed with good intentions kind of character, or like her flaws are her good intentions. But then there's a line that we didn't get to in your playthrough because it's after one of the other choices. But there's a line that's like, to the victor go the spoils. So I was like, oh shoot, okay, all right, that's awful. Interesting. And so it was really fun talking through in the booth, like who is this person? Like, is this like a multiple like parallel views where she could be, in one light she's one thing and in a different light she's another thing, or is she always that all the way down? And so it was just really fun getting to piece her apart a bit in the booth and just be like, oh, there's something dark there, but also but she's all gold.
I gotta say, Laura's my favorite character.
She's fun. You get to really run the whole gauntlet with her.
Truly.
Absolutely. Chase, how do you prepare to be a goblin bird guy?
you prepare by doing nothing but spending the hours before the session doing only psychotic murmuring. And then, I will be honest, EC's direction was just a phenomenal help with this, because I think he helped to add a degree of, I don't know, I mean, latent insanity to it. And
that was my experience with him too.
Yeah. He does that.
He would do a take. He would just be like, okay, can we do another one? And just go crazy with it. Just go crazy. And I did stuff that I like I do not want anybody to ever hear what I just did.
Oh, yes. There is a frightening blooper reel somewhere out there that I hope would ruin any future career, I think, for me. But
as far as I know, EC always creates one.
Yeah. It's going to come out someday. But it was fantastic. I had... As a dungeon master, I had played a kind of crow man in a campaign last year, and it was unintentionally a little...
You had preparation.
For the coin and stuff. Because that character sort of spoke like this, kind of inhaling every word, and I was able to kind of, I don't know, evoke a little bit of that. It was great fun just doing unbelievably off-the-cuff stuff and refining it with EC. Yeah.
I have to interject here that I've worked with Chase on a couple projects now, and I knew that you were a little bit nervous about taking on roles, but you also were tired of kind of getting slotted into like the documentary voiceover. So it's like, I'm going to make Chase do something completely unhinged. Call like a bird.
And it was fantastic. It was a great, stretching of my comfort zone. Well, thank you. I don't know. It's very much not my typecast, but very, very fun and a wonderful. I mean, it's like you always feel better after stretching physically, and the same is true when you're trying to stretch into a character. It was a wonderful exercise.
So Mike Does Audio had a question for Wittershins. Did Wittershins do the dialogue edit? Who did the edit for the dialogue?
That would be our terrific audio editor, Essick.
Okay, Essick, who is not here.
Essick. Sorry, my bad. I'm citing the wrong people. It was EJ.
EJ, Eric Jeffrey Tan.
Yes.
Okay, so not Wittershins, but another team member.
Yeah.
Thank you for the question, Mike Does Audio. I was going to ask toffl, because toffl's been sitting here patiently. toffl, the backgrounds are amazing, and the UI is lovely. Can you walk us through your process? Where do you start writing art? With the art, how do you get going on this? And how did you get involved in the first place?
Oh, well, so for how I got involved, I've been on the DevTalk server since last year, Spooktober. So
That's right.
I just happened to see the recruitment post, and I read through the pitch document, and it really caught my interest because I was actually looking for something where I could go a bit crazy with the art style, something a bit more experimental.
And we had you for Stars Under Lockhurst last year, right?
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And on that project, were you doing backgrounds as well?
Exactly, yeah. And also the UI there.
You did so much for that.
We did have several background artists for that one.
That's right. Was it a very different experience working on If One Goes Astray versus Stars Under Lockhurst?
I think the work itself, like doing backgrounds, doing UI, it was similar, but the team dynamic and team composition felt so different. Because I've been working with that same team from the Stars Under Lockhurst a lot, so I kind of know most of the recurring team members pretty well at this point. And this time I went into a whole new team, so that was kind of a strange experience for me.
You really seemed, I mean, from my perspective, you seemed like you were just snapping away, like getting things done. So kudos to you. You really seem to thrive in the environment.
Thank you. I really love doing game jams.
It shows. It shows. And your work also, like, it shows.
Absolutely incredible. And it's something that I do want to chime in on this and thank you in particular, because I know that the direction that I was giving the artists, since it wasn't trying to marry the art styles so much as like have them contrast, it was a huge leap of faith that all of the artists took on this, because it is kind of out there and experimental, and I am so grateful because all of them did an incredible work, but toffl definitely had like a huge plate of assignments in terms of handling all of the backgrounds
Heavy load.
and the UI.
So we have an ad break coming up that I can't skip in like 10 seconds. So we're going to take a quick break here, and I'll see you guys back here in just 3 minutes.
Like, the character art is so expressive, and then the goblins are wild, and then the backgrounds are so lush, and like, God, I love that cabin shot background. It's just like,
so evocative.
Welcome back, everybody.
I'm glad you're here, but it's also my favorite.
I love that cabin.
The cabin is really good.
Mike says those experimental projects are some of the funnest to work on. Cindercritter says, I love those goblins. This might be a good time, speaking of the goblins. So Elrem is the one who did the goblin sprites, and they weren't able to join us tonight, but they gave me a little write-up of their experience. They say here, I have never done Spooktober before or any other jam. I joined this one because Mistershins had asked me, well done Mistershins.
Yay!
And I thought it would be fun to get to work together with her and Remnantation. And she and Remnantation are partners, if that makes any sense. I have seen jams before and always thought it looked like fun to participate in, but never had time to join one. This is the first time everything fell into place for me to be able to do it. I do not know if I have a set process for how I come up with every design. It depends on what kind of project or piece I'm working on. One constant I can think of, though, would probably be research. For this game, I spent a lot of time researching different Tennessee-specific Appalachian folklore, Nellie Mae Rowe and other Appalachian artists, the poem that inspired the writing for the game, and different animal skeletons. The art style was a big challenge for me. I did not have much experience exploring and creating abstract art, so trying to learn how to pay homage to the style was a unique challenge. I'm really glad that I was able to get the chance to do it. I was really proud of how I was able to incorporate human aspects into the goblin designs, especially given the limited amount of time we had.
Yeah.
And my favorite element of the game is the design itself, the mixed usage of different art styles that are still able to work together cohesively. Thank you, Elrem, for giving us that write-up and giving us a window into the goblin designs.
Yeah, one of the things that I guess if folks haven't seen the game page, you wouldn't know. Each of the artists that was involved in the project was actually given a different Appalachian-based folk artist as kind of like the mood board inspiration starting place. So Nellie Mae Rowe was a folk artist who did these like very intricate patterned creatures that frequently had like human faces, as well as a lot of mixed media stuff. Our CGs, which were handled by Daniewise, are based on the works of Bill Traylor, who is another Appalachian folk artist. And toffl, I had initially given Grandma Moses, but toffl found a number of other artists that they wanted to go off of as well, which I'd love to.
Yeah, toffl, can you talk a little bit about that?
Oh, yeah, so I, pretty much my research started by just Googling Appalachian folk artists and looking what I could find, if I could find something interesting, and I did find several artists that mostly did landscape or environment art that I thought would be great as a source of inspiration. Although I think the style I settled on in the end isn't really strictly based on just one source of inspiration. I just kind of took everything. And then also there was this, at some point we discussed the idea of having the background be layered, where there's a front layer and then that goes in front of the characters. And I think it was actually Windchimes who sent like a picture of like a paper theater.
Yes.
And I thought like, wow, that would be a really cool effect to replicate, because I already knew I wanted to have the trees and everything. It's more like flat shapes to like have cast a two-dimensional shadow, kind of like a little offset, like it's to give the illusion of that layered image.
I think it really works.
Thank you. And I struggled a bit to get there with the art style, but I'm really happy with what I settled on in the end. My main struggle once I had the art style down was actually that I had, because just due to how the art style is structured, I had to have all these separate elements and layers and textures applied to each element and all that, and the files got huge. My tablet was really struggling to handle them.
Oh no.
Back to the VAs. Gina, if you don't mind me calling on you, would you be willing, I know you have a lot of experience outside of visual novels, would you be willing to walk us through this experience compared to your other more typical voiceover experiences? Is this much different acting for a VN in a game jam other than other types of work?
Not radically different. I mean, every live directed session and every director has a different style. You know, some directors you work with are what I'd call one and dones, where you say the line once, they're like, yeah, it's good enough. And that's very not EC's approach. So for this, the way we typically approach scenes is I'd read every line to start 3 times, and then if one of those was the one, great, we'd move on. But more often than not, we'd end up just kind of playing. It's like, okay, that was interesting. Let's, what if you had this motivation? What if you had this motivation? What if you have a secret? What if you have already shared that secret and you're trying to rub that in somebody's face? And so like really trying to see like almost it's character building while you're acting, because you kind of find how the character is actually feeling as you try different motivations and you see what sticks. So that was a ton of fun. I think it's a really great way to sort of play in a space while also, prioritizing time, because I think the primary difference, although not, time's always a factor when you're recording, but especially in a jam, the script comes in at a set date, and then the lines need to be done by a set date to get them implemented in game. So you typically have a relatively short window to actually record, and everybody needs to record and get that in. So I think that's the primary difference in a jam, but time's always a factor. And I think ultimately what was really fun about this one was that character discovery that I feel like we went on. Excellent. Well, great answer. Haley, what about you? Same question. Was this a much different experience than other kinds of voice work you've done? And can you make that comparison?
It wasn't too different from normal visual novels. Generally, video games are pretty similar to this, I think. And I think the most different thing that I've recorded for would probably be audio dramas. Those probably have the most difference in them because there's no visuals to work with, so there's a lot more room to play with things.
Very nice. So, where can we find your audio dramas?
I haven't been in a lot of audio dramas. The one I'm in that I'm the most proud of is oh goodness, it's been years. What is it called?
Fight or Flight.
Randy Greer is the creator for it, and I played his MC in it, and it's a horror one, and I'm a horror girly, so I was very excited about it.
Chase, a bit of a different question for you. can you tell me whether or not you faced any challenges with this character?
That's an interesting question. I would not characterize it as challenging. It is.
Don't feed Shins. Don't feed him.
Oh, he's the most esteemed Mr. Shins I've ever met, and it's a good question. And I would not characterize it necessarily as challenging, but there were a few. It was a distinct session from other things I've done, because we would go up to 10, 11 takes on a line, and I'd be like, wait. But there's a word that I could kind of waver on or change it up somehow. And I don't know. I think it was not more of a challenge, but it was more of a labor of love, I think, than other performances I've done, in that I would spend much more time on every line, because there was much more to modulate. It wasn't like, because I think that the goblins are not, they're not, at least in my view, they're not meant to be very, consistent, well understood personages. They're unpredictable and they're erratic. And so you could really go more in depth into how to change every line and things like that. So it was more of a labor than previous work I had done, but it was not a challenge because I sincerely enjoyed it. And we got to where we wanted to get. And I loved every minute of it.
Fantastic answer. Gina, what about you? Challenges?
Great, really interesting question, because again, it's challenge isn't, it's just for me, challenge isn't necessarily the word for it. My primary descriptor, and I think I've said it already, is just it was just play. So part of it was just trying to identify, are there aspects of this that I'm missing, taking a step back, making sure that we're really reading the text around every single line and being like, what does she actually mean in this moment? So again, not a challenge, just that was sort of the adventure of it, was parsing through all the different things that could be meant for each line.
I had a similar experience, because the entire time throughout I was talking to EC and I was like, is Jeanie dead? Is she dead? He was like, I don't know. And I was like, I need answers. Same sort
Am
of
I
thing
going to
with
play
Laura.
this as dead or not dead?
Is she evil? Is she lying? What's going on? And it's
One of my favorite messages that I got from EC when he was doing the voice direction was, so hey, Widdershins, is it okay if I play up some tension between Jeanie and Laura in those scenes? Is that? It's like, yes. Go for it. That's there.
Heck
or is
it? Oh, also, I wanted to say I've remembered, it's called The Culling, that audio drama.
The Culling.
Okay.
Yeah.
If anybody's watching this on YouTube, we'll have links to the actors' projects in the description if you want to check out more of their work. So Haley, would you say that was the greatest challenge then, or is there more?
It's probably that. I've also got a bad habit of skipping or replacing words with a different word. Mostly because my vision is so bad, I have to zoom in 150% anytime I'm on a script. So I fumble a lot because of that every now and then.
That I could see how that would be a challenge.
Mm-hmm.
I have a message from Dylan Keeler, who played Jack the Goblin.
Jack Wampus.
Jack Wampus. I didn't realize Jack had a last name.
Our gentlemanly painter.
So I'm gonna because they're not able to join us tonight, I'm just gonna go read this. Hey all, I'm Dylan Keeler. I'm the actor for Jack. Hope everyone's been enjoying the game. A couple of months ago, Widdershins suddenly materialized in my room and gripped me by the shoulder. You're next, she hissed. And I was dragged into the basement, never to be seen again. Just kidding.
Is he though?
Having worked on Burdock and Bright Oak, I've become good acquaintances with the crew here at Butterfly Rocket. When Mistershins messaged me out of the blue for a potential new Spooktober project, I was immediately on board, despite having no idea what was in store for me. When the game started to become more realized, I was finally presented with my new assignment. Voicing Jack was an interesting journey. When I first looked upon the sprite work, my eyes were immediately drawn to the two human faces that comprise his head, and within my mind, I had first imagined a kind of dual voice, comprised of both a masculine and a feminine or outright androgynous layer. But there was also the rising second thought of, damn it, she wants my lower register again.
Oh no.
With being brought on board under the premise of being a goblin, I was under the initial impression that this was a chance to flex my range a little, but a job's a job, and I enjoy working with both Mistershins and EC.
Apologies to Dylan in absentia.
I really didn't solidify what his voice was until the day I hopped on the call to record for the game. I'm a little jealous of Dylan in this respect. There weren't any notes or ideas passed to me before the session, and neither were there any passed on to EC, save for do what you think is best.
Because I'm sweet like that.
The session was a bit of a first for me, and I just had to blindly dive in. Otherwise, I'd be overthinking things. So yes, I did end up pitching him lower. I do hope I made him distinct enough for my other roles, but I really wanted to emphasize his panther-ness. I made my jaw rigid, kept my teeth bared, and I tried to add some unnatural touches to his cadence and stressing of words, all topped off with a bit of a growl. I hope all the details and finishing touches paid off. So thank you from Dylan. Really nice to hear from people who can't be here.
Dylan and Chase and Gina, whether she has realized it yet or not, have all been kind of dragged off to my personal chest of talents that I just keep stored under my bed that I will let out every now and again because I just want to write for them forever. And you too are now part of it. Sorry, not sorry, Haley.
Oh, that's okay. I'm fine with that. I can live under a bed. I gotta say, when I heard the panther for the first time, I was playing through the game with my partner on a call, and we both went, "Oh no!"
No, my initial experience with Dylan is he was cast in when I went back to a previous Spooktober project and had Burdock voiced, and he is the Marrow Man in Burdock and just ate. So
that's a terrifying name.
Many people have gotten drowned because of Dylan.
Cadmium says, "Oh no, he's hot."
Yeah, Dylan is great.
We're getting to our last questions here. I wanted this is a question for everybody. So what do you all hope players take away from the game when they finish playing it? And since we've been ignoring toffl for a little bit here, can you have an answer to this one, toffl?
Sorry, I was totally spaced out. What was the question?
It's okay. What do you hope players take away from this game when they finish playing?
I'm not really one to really get to have high expectations of projects, so I'm not
wise.
Yeah, I've been in the game jam game for a while and not everything works out. So I just hope people have a good experience, but they enjoy playing, but they also enjoy the artwork, and just hopefully see some of the creative vision we had for this.
Mistershins?
I hope that, oh goodness, I hope people enjoy it. I also really just kind of hope people are able to fall in love with Mountain Speak the same way I did. Honestly, because it is such a rich dialect, and it gets kind of dismissed outright a lot of times. I'm from California. I have absolutely no connection whatsoever to the Appalachian Mountains, but after doing a lot of research, I've truly fallen in love with a lot of the history of it, and I think it kind of ends up being given just one color and one representation in media, and that's not right. It is both more diverse and richer. in language and in culture than I think is often represented.
I will say I definitely have a greater respect than I did before, much greater. Just because this, like reading through this, it was so lyrical and so beautiful, and I'm not used to that. I'm not used to thinking of that as Appalachia.
It's a sandbox that doesn't belong to me, but that I had a lot of fun playing in.
Actors, do you guys want to tackle this one? Any of you?
Sure. I think for me, this is just such a mood piece between the various art styles, the beautiful music, the everyone's performances and the writing. I feel like it just transports you for a moment. And I think it's great for people to be able to live in that moment for a little bit.
That's lovely. Haley, it sounded like you were going to say something.
I agree with you, Gina. I think that was a perfect way to put it. It's definitely a mood piece. I do want to say that, like, when I was doing the read for Jeanie, at the end there with time was when people said that we had like fairy blood and worse and stuff. There's a lot to that because people say a lot of shit about Appalachians. I remember
I heard a little bit of your frustration just then.
Yeah, like I learned about the prejudice against people from Appalachia when I was 11 years old. It was taught to us by our history teacher because everyone around us expects all the women to be barefoot and pregnant. They don't expect anyone to be intelligent. They expect violence. The Wrong Turn movies are set in Appalachia, and I hate those fucking movies because it's all the villains are all Appalachians, and it's every stereotype in the book. I hate those movies. Don't watch them.
It's the deliverance thing, right?
Yeah, it's annoys me super bad, and I've been seeing more of a rise of people talking about Appalachian Mountains, and like it irritates me because it's that whole bullshit of don't go outside at nighttime. First of all, that's not true. I've never heard anybody in the Appalachian Mountains say that. I used to sleep out on the trampoline at nighttime for fun, okay? It's fine.
Did you never heard any whistling?
No, I whistled whatever I wanted to too, so it doesn't matter.
It was
like,
you.
Obviously don't go out in the woods at nighttime. But like, I live in the woods. I live up and over a mountain miles out of town. So like, I'm not in a rural area. We do have things here. These mountains are older than the trees themselves. That is not an exaggeration.
No, it's one of the oldest mountain ranges on Earth.
Yeah, and the Scottish Highlands are a part of these mountains as well. We broke off at some point. They're the same range. But like, when you get into these mountains, there is a life and there is a wisdom to them. I know, I used to run them as a playground. And I think that this VN captures that really well with the backgrounds and stuff, with just like how it looks and how it feels. So I think the takeaway should be, don't listen to modern media about what Appalachia is, because they are all just using us as stereotypes to make a buck, and it's bullshit, and it pisses me off.
Sprite artist Remnantation is in the chat saying, doubling up on the Appalachian appreciation. There's definitely a lot of bad stereotypes.
Absolutely.
Chase, did you want to take a shot at this question?
Absolutely. I'm going to definitely agree with Gina and Haley about that. I think I got my degree in history and linguistics, as we talked about, and I took sociolinguistics, and we talked about linguistic prejudice in Appalachia. Having gone to school in Appalachia, it was a subject we dwelt long of, and seeing, seeing the word once to anywhere is neat to me. Anything to give some light to it. But I think that...
Oh, shoot. I think I said once it when I was reading it. Oh, well.
That's
it's too late now.
That is okay. I mean, that's what it looks like on the surface. Absolutely. But it is a love letter to Appalachia, and that's wonderful too. But even more broadly than that, I think it's so easy, at least for me, for our sense of mystery to completely dissolve in the modern age. I mean, anything to evoke that, to restore our sense of mystifying and spiritualizing the natural world. I think that there's obviously something very ancient about that and very human. And there's much to be learned from the stories we can tell about it. Obviously, superstition is one thing, but storytelling is another. And I think that this is a reminder of how much of that has been done in the history of this country and in recent times and still today. And so I don't know. I think just the sense of mystery. I hope that is a takeaway from it. It certainly was for me. I don't know. I've been remembering it hiking recently.
Yeah.
That brings me joy, because that was actually an element that I'd wanted to incorporate more of. The month just completely blew up in my face. So actually, I've been very frustrated by how much I wanted to do that I wasn't able to get in. But the addressing like oral storytelling and oral history was something that I really wanted to bring into this. And the only thing that I was able to do was like talk about the dear departed, who is actually, that's a family anecdote that I just kind of dropped in. But yeah, it makes me happy to know that like that still came through, even though I wasn't able to play it up nearly to the degree that I wanted to.
I think it did. Yeah.
It came through absolutely, for sure.
Foxling, hello. Thank you for being here. Honey, thank you for the lurk. Appreciate you. Cadmium says, I mean, you were also a deer man that struggled to say Laura. Okay, fair, Cadmium. I guess I guess I won't freak out over not being able to say once it right. Once.
All of the goblin names, by the way, are anagrams, I think.
What?
Yeah. Nedotra was for not deer, which was probably the most obvious. Van's name was like short for Big Raven. Like they're dumb. They're dumb anagrams.
Oh, I love that.
The only one that's an exception is Jack Wampus. And that's because there was a folkloric figure known as like Whistling Jack that there were various iterations of, but in that, I read about it in that pocket of Eastern Tennessee that I was writing about. There was a version that was basically kind of like a Wampus cat. So it's like, okay, well, there are other places where it's Bigfoot, so we'll go with Jack Wampus. That way we can delineate from, Jack Bigfoot.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody, for answering that question. So, if you could all go back, especially toffl and Wittershins, give yourself one piece of advice before starting this project, what would it be?
Oh, that's a difficult question.
If you want to think on it for a little bit, maybe I can take it, push it back to Wittershins.
Oh, mine is super easy.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
Yours is easy?
My answer is that I wouldn't, because my advice to my past self would be, don't do it. This month is going to blow up. But in retrospect, I'm really glad that I did it anyway.
Okay, good. Will there be post-jam updates? Asked Cinder Critter. In the Discord, I usually post the results of the judging results. Do you mean an update to the game, like bug fixes, etc.?
If there are bugs, definitely, but otherwise, I honestly kind of like leaving my
game update. Okay.
Yeah, I kind of like leaving our jam games like what they were.
Okay.
What they were. If there's a bug, I'll fix it. But otherwise, I'm pretty happy. The exception to that was Burdock, and I went back and revisited Burdock like this last winter because I wanted to add voice acting, because I discovered voice acting in games is cool.
It is cool. So, what's everybody doing next? Let's see. How about Haley? Haley, do you have any projects coming up after this?
I have been on an indefinite hiatus from voice acting. I actually came out of it for this project.
Wow.
I am so grateful for that. Thank you.
I was so grateful to see something based in Appalachia that was so good. I loved it. It was. I've been on an indefinite hiatus. The only thing that I've been working on is the Your Turn to Die patch dubs that we've been doing. Other than that, I've just been doing art commissions in the meantime.
Okay.
Very cool.
Yeah. Gina, what about you?
Absolutely. can't always talk about upcoming projects, so instead I'll just talk about some projects that just came out. I got to play the playable main character in 2 games recently, which was like a dream of mine when I first started voiceovers, so that was very exciting. The games are Rogue Labyrinth, which is a really fun little roguelite. That's like a reality TV show, Hunger Games meets saving the world. And the other one is Pantaray, which is this gorgeous, also a roguelite, actually. They're both roguelites. But really exciting projects, and they were a great fun to work on.
Awesome. Okay, cool. So we'll look for Gina in those. Chase, do you have any irons in the fire, so to speak?
Yeah, well, most of my work is in audiobook narration, so I'm in the. I've got like 5 to do, and I've released some recently. But I'm in the midst of narrating the Pendle Hill series of Quaker theological pamphlets, which is definitely for a very niche reader. But coming up, there was a fantasy series called Tuyo that I'd learned of lately, and I was very grateful to get to talk to the author of that, Rachel Newmeyer, and I'll be doing the 11th book in that series in February, which is coming out later this year, and I'll get to narrating it at the beginning of next, and a couple of other little fiction, sci-fi and action things on Audible. But yeah, those are the things I'd talk about, maybe.
Excellent. Remnantation says, no games at the moment for me other than some returning work, but starting to veer into learning the other branches to play with making my own. So Remnantation may have their own game coming, which is very exciting. toffl, do you have any irons in the fire, something coming up?
Oh, for me, I'm trying not to start any new projects for now. I'm trying to take a bit of a break.
Oh, good for you.
The last couple months were pretty busy for me, so I need to reset a bit before I start something new.
A reset after Spooktober makes perfect sense to me.
Yeah.
Wittershins?
Me? Oh, well...
What? Wow.
As it happens, I think probably Project Next, after we move over the ocean, is going to be revisiting my big project, Bright Oak, where you can actually hear some of our lovely VAs do work in it, because we have
Gina Leigh Smith in there.
I was about to say, we have Gina, we have mistershins, Chase is in it, Dylan is in it. So yeah.
So Bright Oak is
going to be my next
focus.
thing. I want to revamp the demo to be able to include that. I'd also really like to revamp the UI, but I need to track down somebody for that.
One step at a time. Well, are there any other questions for any of the devs or VAs from anybody that's in chat currently? And I just want to say thank you to everybody. Thank you to Short One Gaming, Gina and company, for the raid. You guys make sure that you follow Short One Gaming and check out their stream. And also thank you for the raids from Denver Bear Hunter and Ruby. Appreciate you guys so much. Thank you all for joining and hanging out with us and experiencing this very special stream. Moving over the ocean. Yeah, we're moving. We just bought a house over the ocean. So things are going to get crazy here in the next month.
Ocean? Like
what's that?
Castle? Does it float over the ocean like Castle?
If only.
I might say that people in Shins community are quite familiar with the fact that I have frequently described Shins as being Howl.
That's right.
Some of his toxic traits. Turns into green goo whenever he's depressed.
It's a thing.
Oh man.
It's a mood.
Makes a mess.
It's
a book Howl we're talking about.
Does.
I see.
And I am the book Sophie, not the
yeah.
Sounds messy. Yeah, it's probably a little messy.
It is.
All right. Well, thank you guys. Thank you to the developers and the VAs for joining us tonight. It is 11:30 Pacific right now, which means it's 12:30, 1:30. It's 2:30 for most people that are here. So I'm going to let you guys go to bed and take care of yourselves. Really, really appreciate everybody being here. I'm going to go ahead and jump out of the chat. Thank you again. Have a good night, everybody.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you for inviting
Thanks
us.
for having us.
I want to thank all of the members of the team that were able to join tonight, because you guys are amazing, and you really did carry this project through to the end. All credit due to you. All credit.
Yep. It was and I really enjoyed playing the game. So, thank you. All right. Thanks again. Good night, everybody.
Bye.
Until next time.
Good night. Good night.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.